Chapter 749. Ning Fan did not chase after the 9 demon immortals. He just closed his eyes and recalled the inscription on the tablet in his mind. The destruction of the Big Dipper dust calamity, the remnant soldiers turned into emperors, the sacred desolation heaven desolation, the thought of seizing the heavens. The immortal emperor had comprehended 7 of the 3,000 seals, refining the sky into a palm and turning the palm into a seal. He defeated Purple Immortal, defeated the North Arch, and was no match for Mo Zhong. He gave up on the idea of seizing the heavens and started a massacre. He commanded the galaxy and guarded the blood-descendant world. The seize in the heaven-seizing seal referred to the thought of seizing the heavens. The word heaven referred to the process of refining the sky into a palm and turning the palm into a seal. 7 layers of palm prints required the refinement of 7 layers of sky. Sky wielding was to refine one's divine ability into the sky and then into a palm. Ning Fan suddenly opened his eyes. The light of the 7 styles of divine abilities flashed across his eyes. Then, 7 different colored skies appeared above his head one after another. The first color of the sky was a blood-red sky, condensed from baleful energy. Melting the sky to become evil, refining evil into a palm. This seal is called the evil seal. The second color of the sky was the sky of thunder. Rumbling the heavens as thunder, refining thunder as a palm. This seal is called thunder seal. The third color of the sky was the azure misty sky. The sky is the rain, and the rain is the palm. The name of this seal is rain seal. The fourth color of the sky was the sky of sword thought. Cutting the heavens as a sword, refining the sword as a palm. This seal is called sword seal. The fifth color of the sky was the blazing sky. Burning the sky as the fire, refining the fire as the palm. This seal is called fire seal. The sixth colored sky, the sky formed by the Tao of life. Opening the heavens to create life, refining life as a palm. This seal is called the seal of life. The 7th colored sky was the sky formed by the Tao of death. Bury the heavens for death, and refine death for the palm. This seal is called the death seal. The 7-colored sky collapsed one after another, and the 7 layers of palm prints changed colors one after another. In essence, the heaven-holding seal that Ning Fan created was completely different from the heaven-seizing seal. The 7-colored palm imprints merged into one, turning into a black and white palm imprint. In an instant, nearly half of Ning Fan's magic power was depleted. The power of the palm print had almost reached the power of a Duzhen strike. Compared to the heaven-seizing seal, the heaven-holding seal wouldn't drain all his magic power at once. In terms of destructive power, the heaven-holding seal was much stronger than the heaven-seizing seal after it had refined the 7 styles of Ning Fan's divine abilities. At that moment, the Heavenly Lord of Black Flame and the other demon immortals had already escaped to the depths of the blue sea. The rain intent in Ning Fan's eyes flashed. The green curtain of rain spread out madly. In just a few breaths' time, it had covered the entire blue sea. He had found the whereabouts of the heavenly monarch of Black Flame and the others. He suddenly raised his palm and slammed it down. At this moment, the entire Big Dipper blood boundary shook violently. In the next instant, the sky above the heavenly lord of Black Flames and the others was suddenly covered by a giant black and white palm. The giant palm slammed down. Half of the blue sea was flattened by this palm. Heavenly Monarch Black Flame and the other 8 demon immortals died under Ning Fan's palm before they could react. What a pity. Ning Fan sighed softly. The state of the unity of heaven and man disappeared at this moment. He originally wanted to use the state of the union of heaven and man to create the 8th and 9th palm, but it seemed like it was impossible. After dispersing his Tao image, Ning Fan's gaze swept across the 8 life immortal realm cultivators and cupped his fists. Thank you for your help. I'm Ning Fan, a disciple of the Slaughter Palace. He was thanking them for rushing here to help him. Even though he did not need their help at all, they did it out of kindness. Ning Fan still had to thank them. What? You're Ning Fan, the champion of this year's competition. the expressions of the life immortal realm cultivators changed drastically. The 8 of them were cultivators of the Slaughter Palace. They were responsible for guarding the Blood World. Even though they had lived in the Blood World for a long time, they had also heard of Ning Fan's infamous name. How could they expect that the person they wanted to save and help was actually Ning Fan, who was so famous in the Eastern Heaven? They heard that Ning Fan had defeated all the outstanding geniuses of the Eastern Heaven with his Peak Void Fragmentation Realm cultivation base and obtained the first place in the competition. During the competition, he even went up to the 65th floor of the Tong Tian Tower. If it was in the past, they would never believe that a peak-shattering realm cultivator could go up to the 65th floor of the Tong Tian Tower. They would only treat such rumors as rumors. Now that they witnessed Ning Fan killing 9 demon immortals with a single palm strike, none of them doubted his strength anymore. Speaking of which, the palm imprint that junior brother Ning displayed just now really looks like the heaven-seizing seal, the divine ability that Shadi must cultivate. One of the life immortal realm cultivators said doubtfully. That's a palm imprint divine ability that I created myself. It's not the heaven-seizing seal. If you look closely, it's still easy to see the difference. Ning Fan answered without changing his expression. The biggest advantage of modifying the heaven-seizing seal into the heaven-holding seal was that he did not need to worry that others would mistake him as a young emperor when he displays this seal. That's right. The heaven-seizing seal is the ultimate technique of every venerated sovereign. Those who learn this seal are either Sha Di or young emperors. Even though junior brother Ning has outstanding innate talent, he has just joined the Slaughter Palace for tens of years. How could he possibly learn the heaven-seizing seal? A few of the life immortal realm cultivators nodded and said. Speaking of which, junior brother Ning actually managed to enter the Blood World. Could it be that you were rewarded by Sha Di and obtained the 7 stars boat? Another life immortal realm cultivator asked. Yes. Some time ago, Elder Fei He and I met Venerated Sovereign. Venerated Sovereign thought that it wasn't easy for me to cultivate, so he bestowed me the 7 stars boat and allowed me to enter the Blood World to comprehend the Tao and become an immortal. I see. The few life immortal realm cultivators chatted with Ning Fan for a while more and left one after another. Those who had just broken through to the immortal realm needed to go into seclusion immediately to stabilize their cultivation bases. They were all sensible people. Thus, they would not stay here and disturb Ning Fan. What they did not know was that Ning Fan had already consumed 13 corpse liberation pills. His cultivation base was extremely stable now. It would not be a problem even if he did not go into seclusion. After the 8 life immortal realm cultivators left, Ning Fan looked at Mu Weiliang and Zili with a strange expression. After a long time, he felt speechless and said. You two are actually the purple gold double evil spirits? Why didn't you tell me in the past? What are the purple gold double evil spirits? Mu Weiliang was puzzled again. I don't know. Zili shook her head like a rattle drum. All right. These 2 little girls don't know their devil names at all. After returning to his residence, Ning Fan went into seclusion for 10 days. Even though his cultivation base did not need to be stabilized, his Tao image still needed to be stabilized. During these 10 days, Ouyang Yuan and the others naturally guarded Ning Fan during his seclusion. 10 days later, Ning Fan walked out of his room and realized that the outside of his residence was already filled with countless cultivators. There were cultivators from Ji Willow City and cultivators from other cultivation cities and countries. They came here just to pay their respects to the newly advanced immortal who killed 9 demon immortals with a single palm strike, Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not have the mood to pay attention to these people. He only summoned the director of Ji Willow City, Renli, into his residence and dismissed the rest of them. Big brother, why are you really an immortal? Renli stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. He had been living with Ning Fan for 50 years. He had always known that Ning Fan was strong, but he had never thought that Ning Fan could be this strong. In Renli's heart, immortals were the strongest beings in this world. Ning Fan, on the other hand, killed 9 demon immortals with a single palm strike and flattened half of the blue sea. That palm strike was so strong that it made Renli's heart palpitate. It would forever be imprinted in his mind and he would never be able to forget it. Ning Fan smiled without answering. He waved his hand and took out a storage pouch and passed it to Renli. I don't have the habit of being the big brother of others. However, since you have called me big brother for so many years, you can have this storage pouch. The items inside are enough for you to advance to the divine transformation realm. Big brother, are you leaving? Renli's expression changed. His eyes were filled with reluctance. He did not have the slightest bit of greed towards the storage pouch in his hand. He was no longer the rascal in the past. However, he could never forget Ning Fan's sharp eyes. I'm leaving. You have a good aptitude and a good temperament. If you cultivate diligently, it is not impossible for you to become an immortal in this lifetime. Cultivate well. Ning Fan patted Renli's shoulder like an elder and encouraged him. Then, he flicked his sleeve and a breeze blew past them. In an instant, he, Ouyang Nuan and the other women disappeared. Renli was the only one left in the empty house. Renli remained silent and stood on the same spot for a long time. He was born an orphan without parents. No one had ever taught him what to do. If he had not met Ning Fan, he might have been a rascal for the rest of his life. However, he saw Ning Fan's eyes on that day. It was the eyes of a true expert. However, Ning Fan did not take his anger out on him or kill him because of his offense. At that moment, he could not guess Ning Fan's cultivation base. However, he was sure that Ning Fan was stronger than anyone he had ever met. On that day, he learned one thing. A true expert would disdain bullying the weak. Hence, he took Ning Fan as his role model and cultivated diligently, hoping that he could stand at the same height as Ning Fan one day. Thus, he worked hard step by step and finally reached his current cultivation level. He became the lord of a city and made it his responsibility to protect the city. When Ning Fan left, he felt like he had really lost an elder brother. Big brother is a true expert. His strength is not related to his cultivation base. Renli seemed to have understood something and turned around to leave. He had decided to become a true expert just like Ning Fan. Just by turning around, there would be 9 generations of young emperors in the future. Before leaving the Blood World, Ning Fan went to the Broken Army Star Palace to bid farewell to Sha Di. Ning Fan knew that after leaving the Blood World this time, he would probably not be able to return to the Blood World for many years. He drove the 7-star ship and left the Blood World. When he returned to the Blood Sea Star, he realized that Wei Wuji had actually stayed in the outside world for 50 years. Meeting him again after 50 years, Wei Wuji's eyes were filled with astonishment. Part of his astonishment was because Ning Fan had already reached the peak mortal profound realm. 90% of it was because Ouyang Nuan and Ning Fan had already, little girl Nuan, was it that brat Ning Fan who raped you? I'll subdue him for you right now. Wei Wuji raised his hand, wanting to summon his Dao weapon to suppress Ning Fan. Ouyang Nuan's face turned red. How should she explain to her master? Tell him that she did it willingly and that she was not raped? How could she say something like that? The only thing she could do was to stand in front of Ning Fan and act as a human wall, not giving Wei Wuji any chance to make a move on her. After causing such a scene, Wei Wuji finally forced himself to accept reality. He also understood his disciple's feelings. However, knowing that his disciple was raped by someone else always made him unhappy. Brat, there are still 30 years before the opening of the Supreme Pill's sacred region. I must bring little girl Nuan back to the sect to prepare for the sacred region. That. If you sincerely beg this old man will be merciful and give you one of the 2 trial slots of the herbal sect so that you can accompany little girl Nuan into the sanctuary, Wei Wuji said with an awkward expression. The quota of the Supreme Pill's sacred region, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He was no longer a small fry who had just entered the Eastern Heaven. He already had some understanding of the Supreme Pill's sacred region. The word sacred in the sacred region was equivalent to the legendary third step cultivators, saint. The so-called Supreme Pill's sacred region was said to be the place where a saint of the Tao of Pill gathered herbs in ancient times. There was no need to mention how many rare and precious spiritual herbs there were. It was said that there were still many traces of the Pill Saint's pill concoction in the sacred region. The supreme pill sacred region would only appear once every 10,000 years. As it was a broken ancient world, cultivators whose cultivation base was higher than the Dujin realm could not enter it. Otherwise, the world would definitely collapse. Besides, the medicinal qi in this world was extremely dense. If one did not have a high-grade 6th revolution medicine soul or above, they would be assimilated by the medicinal qi as soon as they enter the sacred region. There was once someone who brought out a 9 revolutions emperor pill from the supreme pill sacred region. There was also someone who found half of an ancient secret technique of the Tao of Pill from the sacred region. There was even someone who mistakenly ate a 10 million years old spiritual herb that could walk in the sacred region. When he entered the sacred region, his cultivation base was at the early human profound realm. After going into seclusion for 1,000 years, he had completely refined the medicinal power of the herb. By then, he was already at the early Dujin realm. To pill refinement masters, the supreme pill sacred region had an indescribable temptation. It represented a great opportunity. Only the pill refinement sects in the Eastern Heaven immortal world were qualified to enter the supreme pill sacred region to search for opportunities. According to the strength of the forces, the strong sects could have 2 quotas to enter the region while the weaker forces could only have 1 quota. No matter how weak the forces were, they could only share 1 quota with a few forces. Each time they competed for the quota, they would have to fight to the death, the place where the saint of the Tao of Pill gathered herbs. Just this name alone was enough to make countless pill refinement masters go crazy. Seeing Ning Fan falling into deep thought, Wei Wuji showed an impatient look. He thought that Ning Fan was considering whether he should ask him for help or not. Yang Nguan looked at her master with displeasure. She felt that her master was too petty. He was obviously a senior, but he always made things difficult for the juniors. Wei Wuji felt extremely embarrassed after being glared at by his precious disciple. Forget it. I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. Remember to come to the medicine sect 30 years later. I will bring you and Nwaner to the Saint region. Nwaner was supposed to enter the domain with Chiu Sha, but, Wei Wuji's eyes revealed a cold glint when it came to enemies. Wei Wuji didn't continue on this topic and gave Ning Fans a few more instructions. 3 days later, Wei Wuji left the Crimson Sea Star with Yang Nguan and returned to the herbal sect. After Yang Nguan left, Ning Fan actually felt a little empty in his heart. After living together for 50 years, she was not used to parting like this. Mu Weiliang and Zili temporarily returned to the Cauldron world. After returning to the Blood Sea Star, Ning Fan became alone again. He returned to Slaughter City and inquired about the secrets of the Eastern Sky in the past 50 years. 50 years had passed. The excitement of the grand competition in the past was long gone. Ning Fan had also been forgotten by the cultivators of the Slaughter Palace. Of course, it wasn't that no one cared about him. He had just returned to the disciples' dormitory, and before he could even clean up the thick layer of dust, Fei He had already come looking for him. The peak of the human profound realm. Good, good, good. Fei He was overjoyed to see that Ning Fan's cultivation had reached the peak of the mortal profound realm. His plan could finally be carried out. His mask of hypocrisy could finally be removed. He. Ning Fan, do you still remember the 1 million years old spiritual herbs and the corpse liberation pill that I gave you? Fei He sneered and changed his hand seal. Ning Fan's eyes were immediately filled with shock. His face instantly turned pale and he fell to the ground with a pained expression. The way he looked at Fei He was filled with shock, anger and fear. Elder Fei. What did you do to my body? It's nothing. I just gave you some of the corpse poison in my body. From the moment you consumed the corpse poison, I only need a single thought to kill you. Don't even think about getting rid of the corpse poison. There is no cure for this poison. It's a poison that I cultivated painstakingly. Unless you break through to the true immortal realm, you won't be able to get rid of this poison. Of course, there's another way to get rid of this poison. If you listen to me, I don't mind sucking the poison out of your body. He revealed his white teeth and gave a creepy smile. Elder, what do you need me to do? Ning Fan gritted his teeth and asked. It's very simple. I'm making a plan. 3 years later, I need your help to get rid of Yao Qingyun. What? Junior's cultivation is low. How can I be Elder Qingyun's opponent? Ning Fan looked terrified. What are you afraid of? I will help you to plot against her. Hee, you can even get a beauty for free. Why not? He laughed sinisterly. He threw a pill and a jade slip to Ning Fan and walked out of the room with a sneer. Ning Fan's eyes gradually turned cold. There was no longer any pain on his body. Chapter 750. The pills that he left behind could prevent the corpse poison from flaring up for 3 years. The jade slips he left behind were actually all the cultivation methods of the various sects and clans. Of course, Ning Fan would not consume pills. However, he was rather interested in this jade slip. If he studied the cultivation technique in the jade strip, he could verify it with the yin-yang transformation cultivation technique. Holding the jade slip in his hand, Ning Fan's mind was racing as he pondered about He's scheme. If it was in the past, he would naturally be afraid of He. But now, he was no longer afraid of He. He wanted to see what kind of tricks he would play in 3 years. After he left, he never showed up again. It was said that he had left the Blood Sea Star to do something. Others did not know what he was busy with, but Ning Fan could roughly guess it. He must be busy dealing with Yao Qingyun and himself. After staying in the residence for a few days, Ning Fan left the residence. Just as he was about to go out, an uninvited guest arrived. A green-clothed woman stood outside the door. She seemed to have been standing there for a long time. As soon as he saw the lady's face, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He cupped his fists and greeted her. Disciple Ning Fan greets Elder Qingyun. May I know why Elder Qingyun has come to find this disciple? This consort was just taking a stroll and passed by this place. I have no reason to look for you. Yao Qingyun's tone was extremely cold, but it lacked the hostility of the past. If that's the case, this disciple will not disturb Elder's stroll any longer. Ning Fan bowed again, walked past Yao Qingyun and strode away. Even though he had experienced the baptism of the blood pool, Ning Fan's eyes were still as calm as still water when he looked at Yao Qingyun. There were no ripples in them at all. It was as if he was looking at a stranger. Yao Qingyun's eyebrows furrowed. She was a bit unhappy that no one had come. She coldly said, Wait. Elder, do you have any orders for me? Ning Fan turned around and asked. Stay away from He. That person is not as kind as you think. After saying this, Yao Qingyun turned around and left, leaving behind a fragrant wind. It was the smell of wild ginger flowers. Ning Fan's eyes were slightly startled as he asked in surprise, Elder, did you come here just to remind me? Don't flatter yourself. I'm just passing by. Yao Qingyun smiled mockingly. Her light figure didn't stop and gradually moved further and further away. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. How could he not know if Yao Qingyun came to remind him on purpose? The grudge between him and Yao Qingyun had been written off in the blood pool. Since Yao Qingyun had kindly reminded him, he would kindly remind Yao Qingyun as well. 3 years. Be careful. These words were spoken through voice transmission. Hearing this, Yao Qingyun's shoulders trembled, and she stopped in her tracks. After a while, he continued to walk further away. It was unknown if he had kept Ning Fan's reminder in mind. He paid a visit to the 12 pavilions and began to purchase the various types of spiritual ores required for the refinement of his Dao soldiers. He had already become an immortal, so he could start to refine a Dao weapon. The impressive aspect of Dao soldiers was that they did not have grades. They were only divided according to the level of concepts. The power of a Dao soldier was related to the cultivation realm of the cultivator. The higher the cultivation realm of the cultivator, the stronger the Dao soldier. Along the way to the 12 pavilions, most of the cultivators of the slaughter palace that they met along the way had already forgotten about Ning Fan. As soon as he saw Ning Fan, he finally remembered that there was such a person in the slaughter palace. When he looked at Ning Fan's cultivation base again, he seemed to have already attained the life immortal realm. However, he could not see through his exact cultivation base. Ning Fan had refined the innate ghost face which had the ability to conceal his cultivation base. If he was unwilling to do so, he could conceal his chi even without summoning the ghost face. Only thought-breaking realm cultivators would be able to see through his true cultivation base. The reason why he was able to see through Ning Fan's cultivation base was obviously because Ning Fan did it on purpose. There were usually two ways to refine flying swords. One was to increase the changes of the flying sword's abilities while the other was to increase the sharpness and lethality of the flying swords. The impressive aspect of the memory-severing Dao sword was that it could destroy the memories of others. Its sharpness was secondary. According to Ning Fan's idea, he wanted to maximize the power of the memory-severing Dao sword and increase the changes of the Dao sword's abilities on top of that. After deciding on the direction of refinement, Ning Fan chose a refinement method called illusory sword from the thousands of flying swords. He was prepared to use this method to refine his Dao weapon. Once the refinement is successful, the memory-severing Dao sword would be able to create an illusory sword formation. It would create layers of illusions in the sword formation, drawing out the memories of those who are trapped in the formation and killing the enemy's cultivation base in their memories. Only by refining it in this way could the memory-severing Dao sword unleash its full power. After spending about 10 billion Dao crystals, Ning Fan purchased all the immortal ores that he needed to refine the illusory sword. For the remaining 3 years, Ning Fan stayed in the profound Yin world to refine the memory-severing Dao sword. Inside the profound Yin world, Ning Fan sat at the mouth of a volcano for 3 years, turning the entire volcano into a furnace to refine his Dao weapon. The memory-severing Dao sword was immersed in the magma. Ning Fan tossed various immortal ores into the magma. As Ning Fan changed his hand seal, the temperature of the magma suddenly rose, melting the immortal ores one by one. The memory-severing Dao sword seemed to produce a boundless suction force and began to devour the magma at a crazy rate. The immortal ores that melted in the magma were all devoured by the Dao sword. 3 years later, the magma in the entire volcano was completely devoured. The atmosphere was lifeless and lifeless, turning it into an extinct volcano. Ning Fan bent his palm and beckoned. A flying sword that was as red as a soldering iron flew out from the mouth of the volcano and floated in front of him. Gradually, the temperature of the sword weakened and it returned to its dark golden color. When the heat completely disappeared, Ning Fan reached out and held the hilt of the sword. It felt as cold as ice. This was a sword made of frost. It contained Ning Fan's memories of the past in 7 Apricot City. Feeling the power of the memory-severing Dao sword, Ning Fan nodded with satisfaction. This sword was a Dao weapon condensed from the second step intent realm, memory intent realm. With Ning Fan's current peak human profound realm cultivation base, the sharpness of this sword alone was enough to defeat all human profound realm experts. If he used this sword to activate the Phantom Sword formation, he could easily kill an early Ghost Profound Realm expert. Naturally, as Ning Fan's cultivation base improved, the power of this sword would also increase. A Dao weapon was a supreme treasure that could be used for a lifetime. Not bad. Ning Fan kept the Dao sword. With a flash, he left the profound Yin world and returned to his disciple's residence. 10 days later, He came to him. Without any nonsense, he directly brought Ning Fan to the teleportation pavilion of the 12 pavilions. It seemed like he was going to teleport him to a certain place. He did not come alone. There were 6 life immortal realm experts who came with him. All of them were his disciples. These 6 life immortal realm experts all practiced the secret technique of the Tao of Corpse. 5 of them had completed the 2nd corpse transformation while the last one had completed the 3rd corpse devil transformation. The one who completed the 3rd corpse devil transformation was an ugly middle-aged man with a late human profound realm cultivation base. As for the other 5, they were either at the early human profound realm or mid-human profound realm. The eyes of the 6 life immortal realm experts were hollow. There was a faint corpse poison planted in their bodies by Fei He. The 6 of them were not like ordinary cultivators of the Killing Palace who were afraid of Ning Fan. Their eyes were emotionless when they looked at Ning Fan. There were 7 people in Fei He's group. Including Ning Fan, there were 8 of them. Standing outside the teleportation pavilion, Fei He was not in a hurry to use the teleportation formation of the star region. Instead, he was waiting for someone at a leisurely pace. Ning Fan did not ask much. He could guess that Fei He was going to deal with Yao Qingyun and himself. He could also guess which companions Fei He was waiting for. However, Ning Fan could not figure out who exactly Fei He was waiting for. When the person Fei He was waiting for arrived late, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with surprise. He saw a lady in green walking towards him with light steps. Behind her were 2 old maids whose faces were covered with ghost masks. The person Fei He was waiting for was actually Yao Qingyun. I didn't expect Elder Qingyun to accept this elder's mission together with me. It really surprises me. Fei He said with a sinister smile. Surprises? I don't think you are that surprised. Let's go. The sooner we complete this mission, the better I will feel at ease. Yao Qingyun sneered. Her phoenix-like eyes shifted slightly. When she saw that Ning Fan was actually going with Fei He, she could not help but feel displeased. Didn't I remind him to stay away from Fei He? He actually turned a deaf ear to her words. He must have suffered a great loss before he knew that Fei He had ulterior motives. This trip is quite dangerous. Why did Elder Fei bring so many burdens? In my opinion, these 7 people don't need to follow us. Without the cultivation base of the true enlightenment realm, entering that secret place is simply courting death. Yao Qingyun's eyes swept across the 7 life immortal realm cultivators with a sneer. Hee hee. With the 2 of us taking care of them, what kind of danger can these juniors face? It's also good to let them follow us to gain some knowledge. Or could it be that Elder Qingyun is worried about one of them? How ridiculous. What does the death of your people have to do with me? Why would I be worried about their lives? Those who don't listen to others and don't know what's good for them should just die. Yao Qingyun glared at Ning Fan coldly and brought the 2 maidservants behind her into the teleportation pavilion. Fei He looked at Yao Qingyun's back and then looked at Ning Fan. His smile became colder and weirder. Ning Fan's expression was still as calm as an ancient well, but his heart was quite surprised. With his wisdom, how could he not see that Yao Qingyun was concerned about him? She called him a burden because she was afraid that he would be too deeply involved with Fei He. Have you been practicing the dual cultivation technique for the past 3 years? Fei He asked coldly all of a sudden. Ning Fan's expression didn't change. Yes. That's good. Hee hee. That's good. If you help me accomplish my task, I will not treat you unfairly. Not only will I let you have a night with the beauty, I will also cure you of the poison after the task is completed. If you dare to have any disloyalty, I will make you regret coming to this world. Having said that, Fei He brought his 6 disciples into the teleportation pavilion. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with an undetectable cold light. After thinking for a while, he also entered the pavilion. From the conversation between Fei He and Yao Qingyun, Ning Fan had obtained a lot of information. He knew that Fei He and Yao Qingyun were going to a secret place to complete an elder's task. The elder's task was not a task issued by an outsider. Instead, it was an internal task of the Slaughter Palace. Only those with at least Shikong cultivation realm could accept it. Moreover, the elder's task was usually very dangerous. At least 2 elders had to accept the task at the same time in order to be qualified to complete it. Ning Fan sighed softly. He had clearly reminded Yao Qingyun to be careful in the next 3 years. It seemed like Yao Qingyun did not take his warning to heart. She actually wanted to complete the task together with Fei He. Forget it. I'll help Yao Qingyun a little when necessary. Both he and Yao Qingyun were Fei He's enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Even though Ning Fan had the jade slip of the 3 styles and was not afraid of Fei He, he would certainly not reject such a good thing if he could have a friend who could go against Fei He and save some of his trump cards. The place where Fei He and Yao Qingyun were going was the 6 Desires Star region, which was hundreds of star regions away from the Blood Sea Star region. It was a high-grade star region. The strongest force there was the 6 Desires sect. The progenitor of the 6 Desires sect was an immortal king who had once shaken the entire eastern heaven. Ever since the death of the 6 Desires immortal king, the 6 Desires sect became weaker and weaker with each generation. Now, the current sect master was just an early true crossing realm cultivator. With such a cultivation base, he could barely take charge of the 6 Desires star region. It was absolutely impossible for him to restore the prestige of the 6 Desires sect. As soon as they arrived at the 6 Desires Star region, Fei He immediately took out a giant ship and carried everyone to the 6 Desires sect. Along the way, Fei He and Yao Qingyun did not speak a word. Naturally, Fei He's 6 disciples would not speak as well. Ning Fan also did not want to talk at first. However, the 2 maids of Yao Qingyun took the initiative to talk to him. What they were talking about was actually the specific content of the elder's task. Judging from little friend's expression, you certainly don't know the specific content of the elder's task, right? Yan Hong asked indifferently. Yes. Ning Fan replied politely. To be honest, he had a good impression of the 2 maids of Yao Qingyun. Both of them were old women with ugly appearances. However, they were sensible people. When Ning Fan annihilated the Yao family in the past, the 2 maids did not hate him like Yao Qingyun. Instead, they were grateful to him. Little friend, you might not know this, but a few months ago, the cave world where 6 Desires immortal king had been missing for many years suddenly reappeared. At that time, the cultivators who discovered the cave world had already been killed. Currently, only a few people in the entire Eastern Heaven know about the emergence of this cave world. The elder's task this time is to enter the cave world of the progenitor of the 6 Desires immortal king and find the 3 supreme treasures of the 6 Desires immortal king, the blue burning fan, the desire releasing pearl and the separation and reunion sword. 6 Desires immortal king. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He had once heard the name of this immortal king who had already passed away. All of them were 12 Nirvana postnatal immortal treasures which were incomparably powerful. The sharpness of the separation and reunion sword was enough to split the spatial barrier of a medium-sized world. The firepower of the blue burning fan was enough to incinerate an immortal king of the same level. The desire-releasing pearl, on the other hand, was a protective treasure. After wearing it, the wearer would not be disturbed by the heart devil for the rest of their lives. Moreover, it could resist all attacks of desire below the immortal emperor realm. With these 3 treasures, 6 Desires immortal king was invincible when he was still alive. He had even defeated a 5th tribulation immortal king with his 4th tribulation realm cultivation base. So, the elder's task this time is to find the 3 supreme treasures left behind by 6 Desires immortal king. Ning Fan guessed that Fei He would probably use this opportunity to deal with him and Yao Qingyun. If that's the case, the cave world of 6 Desires immortal king might be a trap set up by Fei He. Yan Hong paused for a moment and secretly transmitted her voice to Ning Fan. Mistress is here for the desire-releasing pearl and to get rid of the poison of desire in her body. Why are you telling me this? Ning Fan frowned and asked using telepathy. He did not think that his relationship with Yao Qingyun was so good that they could confide in each other. The desire-releasing pearl. Only men who cultivate dual cultivation methods can activate it. If there's a desire-releasing pearl here, I hope that you can help Mistress activate it. Yan Hong explained. Why me? Ning Fan's frown deepened. Even if the desire-releasing pearl could only be activated by men, there was no need to look for him. After all, the desire-releasing pearl was a 12th Nirvana-acquired heavenly treasure. It was only a step away from the innate realm. How could Ning Fan activate a magical treasure of such a level? Besides, why did Yao Qingyun's maidservants trust him so much? His relationship with Yao Qingyun wasn't considered good. They used to be enemies, but now, they could be considered to have cleared their grudges. When the blood pool incident happened, Lu Lan and I already knew about it. You are a good person. You didn't take advantage of Mistress's crisis to do something beastly. The process of activating the desire-releasing pearl is very dangerous. As long as the possessor of the pearl harbors evil thoughts, Mistress will lose her life. Among the men who know about Mistress's physique, you are the most trustworthy one. Ning Fan did not know what to say. He thought that Yao Qingyun's two maidservants were much smarter than Yao Qingyun. Now, it seemed like both the master and the maidservants were equally stupid. If it wasn't because he could not withstand Yao Qingyun's magic power, he would have already plucked her. If it wasn't because Yao Qingyun had rebellious thoughts in her heart that day, even if he could not pluck her, he would most likely have dual cultivation with her to complete the steal of sun and moon. He really wasn't a good person. Just because he could not withstand Yao Qingyun's magic power, even his womb would not be able to withstand it. Young Master Ning, we know that you are a good person. Lu Lan also interrupted. They gave Ning Fan, good person, cards one after another. He just felt speechless. Fortunately, his relationship with Yao Qingyun had indeed improved a lot. If Yao Qingyun really needs his help, he would not mind giving her a helping hand. Of course, the prerequisite was that Yao Qingyun had to pay him a sufficient reward. If there is really a desire-releasing pearl in the secret place and we manage to find it, I don't mind helping Elder Qingyun. After the deed is done, I will ask for the reward. Ning Fan replied. Of course. If young Master Ning can really help Mistress get rid of the desire poison, the reward is just a small matter. Lu Lan and Yan Hong were overjoyed. Fine. They even got addicted to calling him young Master Ning. Ning Fan was obviously a life Immortal Realm junior while the two ladies were true Immortal Realm seniors. Calling them young Master Ning made it seem like the two of them were inferior to him. Let's talk about it after we find the desire-releasing pearl. This trip isn't as simple as you think. Ning Fan said with a frown. Mistress also said that we must be careful of Fei He during this trip. If it isn't for the desire-releasing pearl, Mistress won't go with Fei He. The two maids said. Oh. She isn't that stupid. She knows that Fei He isn't a good person. Ning Fan's eyelids twitched. Of course, Mistress isn't stupid. She just cares too much about the past and is too lonely. The two maids sighed softly. If it was just because of the past, Yao Qingyun might not have given the Yao clan so much help. Perhaps, Yao Qingyun was just too lonely. Even though the Yao clan had betrayed her, it was still her homeland after all. She was too lonely. She was so lonely that she couldn't bear to see the Yao clan being destroyed and losing the greatest hope in her heart. Lu Lan, Yan Hong. Since when did the two of you become so close to this young man? Why didn't I know about it? Yao Qingyun's phoenix eyes were filled with anger as she scolded them coldly. After being scolded by Yao Qingyun, the two maids no longer dared to talk to Ning Fan. At the next moment, Yao Qingyun's voice entered Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. It was a telepathic message. If you dare to touch Lu Lan and Yan Hong, I will never let you go. They are my family. I won't allow anyone to touch them. Ning Fan was speechless. Was he that thirsty to lay his hands on two old women? If Lu Lan Yan Hong looked younger, she might be a beautiful woman. But now, Lu Lan Yan Hong looked like an old woman. If he really touches the two old women, it would really be a heavy taste for him. Even though Yao Qingyun's threatening words made Ning Fan speechless, it also made him think highly of her. This Yao Qingyun is indeed a person who values relationships. She treats the two maids as her family. Even though she is a little dumb, she isn't completely useless. They remained silent throughout the journey. 3 days later, they arrived at the Six Desires planet. Beside the Six Desires planet, a gigantic and strange black hole was quietly rotating in the starry sky. That black hole was the entrance to the Six Desires Immortal King's cave world. At this moment, the entire Six Desires planet was sealed off by 3 groups of experts. No one was allowed to reveal any information about this secret place. Among the three groups of experts, one of them was an expert from the Slaughter Palace. The other two groups of experts knew about the location of the cave world and they wanted a share of the spoils. These two groups were naturally not as strong as the Slaughter Palace. Hence, they did not dare to covet the treasures of the Six Desires planet. What they wanted was just to enter the cave world and have a share of the spoils. Hee hee. Isn't this Elder Fei and Elder Qingyun? Since the two elders are here, I suppose we can enter the cave world now. Just as Fei He's group approached the Six Desires planet, two rays of early void-rending traveling light approached the giant ship from afar. Chapter 751. In just the blink of an eye, the two rays of traveling light had already traveled a great distance and landed on the gigantic ship. Two figures then appeared. The person on the left was an old man with a red face. He had a green wine gourd hanging on his waist. His body carried a strong smell of alcohol. He was an early Shikong realm cultivator and the Tao he cultivated was the Tao of wine. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Ever since he achieved the Tao of wine, he could already slightly distinguish the Tao of others. The person on the right was a middle-aged man in grey robes. He carried 4 sword cases on his back. His eyes were as sharp as swords as if they could pierce through the starry sky with just a glance. He was also an early Shikong realm cultivator and the Tao he cultivated was the Tao of sword. After attaining the second step, the gap between Ning Fan and Shikong realm old monster was shrinking bit by bit. However, it also made him feel the terror of Shikong realm old monster even more. Ning Fan looked at the red-faced old man and the grey-robed middle-aged man and took a deep breath. If it wasn't because he had many life-saving methods, he firmly believed that the two of them could crush him to death with just their Tao sense. I was wondering who it was. So it's the old ancestors of the Jun family and the Wei Qin sword sect. Yao Qingyun said indifferently, revealing their identities. It was unknown whether she wanted to explain to the two maidservants or to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes flickered and he understood. So, the red-faced old man is the old ancestor of the Jun family of the Eastern Heaven, Jun Linyuan. As for the grey-robed middle-aged man, he was the old ancestor of the Wei Qin sword sect, Wei Qinzi. The two of them were famous figures in the world. Ning Fan just did not recognize them. How could he not know their names? After introducing the two of them, Yao Qingyun waved her hand and created a barrier that could isolate sound and spirit sense. The 4 Shikong realm cultivators were discussing something inside the barrier. Most of them were talking about the matter of entering Six Desires Immortal King's abode. No one knew what they were talking about, but the old ancestor of the Jun family suddenly looked at Ning Fan and the other life immortal realm cultivators with an unpleasant expression. The grey-robed middle-aged man frowned and looked at Ning Fan and the other life immortal realm cultivators with displeasure. Of course, Ning Fan had no idea how he had provoked these old monsters. Behind the barrier, the old ancestor of the Jun family said to Fei He with a cold voice of his own. Didn't we agree before? If you can find the 3 treasures of the 6 desires, they will belong to the Slaughter Temple. However, only 2 people from the Slaughter Temple can enter this world, no more. The Jun family and the Tiny Dust Sword sect have sacrificed the 3 treasures in exchange for a total of 12 slots to enter the realm. Fellow Daoist Wei Chen and I will take 2 slots, and the remaining 10 slots will be given to the juniors of the clan and sect. Our disciples were competing with the cultivators of the Jun family for these 10 places. But now, you've sent 2 Duzhen cultivators and 7 life immortals in addition to 2 elders. Are you trying to monopolize the places and only give 1 place to the juniors of our sects? Wei Qinzi's eyes were also filled with anger. 6 Desires Immortal King's cavern world was very special. The entire cavern world was supported by 14 boundary pillars, and only 14 people could enter at a time. Unless one person died in the cave world, the 15th person would never be able to enter. Even if they wanted to release their servants from their heavenly abodes or world treasures, they could not do so. The Jun family and the Tiny Dust Sword sect knew that they would not be able to get their hands on the 3 treasures, so they only asked for more elite disciples to enter as a precious trial. They gave up on the 6 desires and 3 treasures in exchange for 10 spots for their disciples and juniors to enter the realm to train. Who would have thought that Fei He and Yao Qingyun would actually insist on bringing their respective people into the world? Lu Lan, Yan Heng, and Ning Fan were the 6 life immortals of the Tao of Corpses. There were a total of 9 of them and they were going to occupy the 9 slots. If Ning Fan and the others are really allowed to enter the 6 Desires Cavern world, the 2 sects can only send 1 disciple in at most. Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi couldn't accept this. It was true that the Massacre Hall was powerful, and the Jun family and the Microcosm Sword Clan were far weaker than them. However, in terms of cultivation level, Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi were no weaker than Yao Qingyun and Fei He, and they had the courage to fight for what was right. I'm worried about Lu Lan Yanhong staying in the outer realm. We must bring them into the cavern world. We can't give up these 2 spots. Yao Qingyun's words were decisive, not allowing anyone to refuse. Elder Qingyun, you can temporarily keep them in the dimensional space of the world treasure. Before Wei Chenzi could finish his words, Yao Qingyun interrupted him with a sneer. Why should my people hide in the space of the world treasure? Why can't they enter the cavern world openly? Wei Chenzi's face turned even darker when he saw how overbearing Yao Qingyun was. Ha, the people this old man brought are also very useful. Fei He smiled mysteriously. Before Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi's faces turned even darker, he added, however, I'm not an unreasonable person. How about this? Don't the juniors have 10 spots to fight for? Let them fight for it themselves. What do you think? Alright. The cultivators of the Jun family are fighting for the 10 spots with the cultivators of the Microcosm Sword sect in the 6 Desires sect. Let's bring the 9 people that the 2 elders brought along to participate in the fight for the spots. Whoever wins the spots will be qualified to enter the cavern world. If they can't get the spots, they can only blame themselves for being weak. They have no one else to blame. Jun Linyuan sighed and nodded. Yao Qingyun nodded. Wei Chenzi also had no objection. Yao Qingyun waved her hand to remove the soundproof barrier. Fei He smiled coldly and changed his hand seal. The giant ship turned into a ray of light and descended towards the 6 Desires planet. After breaking through the layers of astral wind, the giant ship finally landed outside the gate of the 6 Desires sect. At the moment, a high platform had been set up outside the gate of the 6 Desires sect. Below the platform, a group of cultivators stood on both sides. The cultivators on the left were dressed in green robes. They were all cultivators of the Jun family. There were about 70 of them. The lowest cultivation level was that of an individual immortal, while the highest was a mid-stage ghost mystic. The cultivators on the right all wore sword robes and carried sword cases on their backs. They were all cultivators of the Microcosm Sword sect. There were about 100 of them, ranging from individual immortals to the late-stage ghost mystic. The cultivators who were fighting for the spots were less than 100,000 years old. To the 2 great forces, these people were all talents worth nurturing. On the high platform, a cultivator of the Jun family was fighting with a cultivator of the Microcosm Sword sect. However, the giant ship's landing was so loud that the 2 of them hurriedly separated, not daring to continue the fight. Greetings, Grand Ancestor. The cultivator of the Jun family said loudly. Greetings, Grand Ancestor. The cultivators of the Microcosm Sword sect cupped their fists. While they were greeting the old ancestors of their respective forces, they were also surprised to find that the 2 elders of the Slaughter Palace had already arrived. The 4 void dwellers flew off the ship while Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi informed their disciples about the 9 cultivators from the Killing Hall participating in the competition. What? The people of the Slaughter Palace also want to fight for the 10 spots. Many cultivators near the high platform said indignantly. When Lu Lan and Yan Heng heard the words of the 2 Shikong cultivators, they were slightly stunned. Before they could understand what they were fighting for, they heard Yao Qingyun's telepathic message. They seemed to have understood something and did not ask any further. Ning Fan, on the other hand, frowned slightly. He had no idea what kind of spots they needed to fight for in the cave world. A hint of doubt crept into his mind for no reason. He just felt that the emergence of Six Desires' immortal king's cave world was a little strange. If this is Fei He's scheme against him and Lu Lan, how could other forces know about the emergence of the cave world given Fei He's shrewdness? How could he let two unrelated Shikong cultivators enter the cave world at the same time? Isn't he afraid that they will disrupt his plan? Did Fei He make a careless arrangement and leak the news? Or could it be that Fei He is acquainted with the old ancestor of the Jun family and old ancestor Wei Chenzi? Are they the same people who want to plot against Yao Qingyun and Ning Fan together? With Fei He's gloomy personality, it was indeed not strange for him to ask the two Shikong cultivators for help in order to deal with Yao Qingyun. Perhaps, Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi are really Fei He's people. Or maybe they are not. Perhaps, Fei He does not plan to deal with me and Yao Qingyun in the cave world. Ning Fan's brows were tightly knitted together. At this moment, he really wanted to take out the jade slip that contained the attack of an immortal venerate and eliminate Fei He. All of a sudden, the yin-yang locket in his dantian trembled slightly. All of a sudden, Ning Fan seemed to have understood something. His eyes turned slightly cold as he glanced at each of the participants. The cultivators of the Jun family, the Wei Chen sword sect and the Six Life Immortal Realm cultivators that Fei He brought here all felt that something was wrong. Ning Fan's heart sank when he glanced at Fei He, Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi. He seemed to have understood something, but he was not sure. If everything is as I expected, this trip to the cave world will be a great opportunity for me. The cultivation method of the yin-yang transformation can improve greatly. There are dangers, but the opportunities are not small either. Judging from the chi of these people, that person's strength will not exceed the peak thought fragmentation realm. Fei He turned around and told them about the discussion with Zhu Shikong in detail. Then, he ordered Ning Fan and the others to fight for the quota to enter the cave world. Ning Fan and the other 8 Immortal Realm cultivators jumped off the giant ship and landed on one side of the high platform. They had to fight for the quota no matter what for the great opportunity that he had secretly discovered. There was no one on the high platform anymore. The eyes of one of the rogue immortals of the Jun family suddenly turned blank. As if he was being controlled, he leaped onto the platform and sneered. He raised his hand and pointed at Ning Fan. You, come up and fight me. Lu Lan and Yan Hong's expressions changed. Even Yao Qingyun's expression changed slightly. Doesn't this rogue immortal of the Jun family know who Ning Fan is? Doesn't he know about Ning Fan's infamy? How dare he challenge Ning Fan? Alright, even if he doesn't know about Ning Fan's infamy, how could a mere rogue immortal have the guts and confidence to defeat Ning Fan? One should know that Ning Fan had concealed his cultivation realm at this moment. Ordinary people would not be able to tell which life immortal realm he was at. However, Ning Fan did not conceal his identity. This rogue immortal should be able to tell that Ning Fan was an immortal realm cultivator. How dare he challenge an immortal realm cultivator? Could it be that this young man thinks that he can defeat a life immortal realm cultivator? Ning Fan was not surprised at all. He thought to himself, as expected. Without saying anything else, he leaped onto the high platform. As soon as he got onto the high platform, the rogue immortal of the Jun family acted as if he had gone mad. He directly used his strongest trump card. He raised his hand and took out an offensive jade slip of the mortal profound attack. This person actually had the ruthless intention to kill Ning Fan with a single strike. How dare you! This young man is a cultivator of my slaughter palace. How dare you, a junior of the Jun family, attack a cultivator of my slaughter palace with a deadly attack? Yao Qingyun's beautiful face was cold and her eyes were filled with anger. She did not have the intention to save Ning Fan. She knew that Ning Fan was at the peak mortal profound realm and he could easily withstand that attack. However, she was still angry. She was angry for no reason. How dare a cultivator of the Jun family attack Ning Fan with a deadly attack? This kind of behavior had offended her. Hee. Didn't I tell you just now? This competition is a battle of life and death. Killing is allowed. Jun Linyuan chuckled and answered. Is that so? Then don't regret it. All the cultivators of your Jun family who participated in the competition will be slaughtered. Yao Qingyun sneered. As soon as she finished speaking, she ignored Jun Linyuan and fixed her eyes on the high platform. The jade slip that the rogue immortal of the Jun family took out turned into a ray of golden sword light. It carried the power of an early mortal profound realm cultivator and fiercely slashed at Ning Fan's head. That attack contained the intention to kill. However, this time, Ning Fan did not get angry when facing an enemy who wanted to kill him. Instead, he just felt pity. He had already seen through the strangeness of this competition with the help of the yin-yang locket. Even though he felt pity, he could not let this rogue immortal go. He could no longer be saved. The only thing he could do was to send this rogue immortal to his death as a cultivator. The power of the golden sword light was enough to destroy a low-grade cultivation planet. In the face of this sword light, Ning Fan no longer had the fear he had many years ago. He just casually raised his palm and clenched his 5 fingers. An unimaginable destructive force immediately swept across the high platform along with a rumbling sound. The sword light was shattered. The rogue immortal was dead. Ning Fan kept his primordial spirit into his soul pouch. After refining it with a secret technique in the future, he could use it as a medium to cast the Spirit Blast technique. At the moment when the rogue immortal died, a ray of silver light that was as thin as a hair entered Ning Fan's body. How dare you! You deserve to die for killing a cultivator of my Jun family. An early mortal profound realm old monster of the Jun family was enraged. Chapter 752. Ning Fan ignored the life immortal of the Jun family who was roaring furiously. Instead, he checked his dantian. After killing the rogue immortal of the Jun family, a strand as thin as a strand of hair flew out from his corpse and quietly went into Ning Fan's dantian. That strand of silver thread was a puppet string. This puppet string was completely different from the life puppet string of the ancestral emperor of the northern heaven. Those who are controlled by this string would not turn into real-life puppets. It was neither a life puppet nor a death puppet. Instead, it was a type of puppet that was in between the two. This puppet string contained an extremely strong power of desire. It was the ability to turn desires into strings and control puppets with strings. There were puppet strings in the bodies of the cultivators of the Jun family and the Wei Qin sword immortal. Every time Ning Fan killed one of them, a puppet string would go into his body. The cultivation base of the person who planted the puppet string was too high and the puppet string was too fast. It was so fast that even Yao Qingyun did not notice its existence. If it wasn't because Ning Fan cultivated the yin-yang transformation and possessed the yin-yang locket which made him extremely sensitive to the power of desire, he would not have noticed the existence of this puppet string. Ning Fan glanced at Fei He, Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Qin imperceptibly and his heart sank. There were no puppet strings in the bodies of these 3 people. However, Ning Fan was already sure that the 3 of them were in cahoots. Moreover, there was a 4th person behind them. That 4th person was in control of everything. That person was the one who was really plotting against Yao Qingyun and Ning Fan. He's not at the peak thought fragmentation realm. He should be at the late or mid-thought fragmentation realm. After having an additional puppet string in his body, Ning Fan could sense the puppet strings more clearly. From the puppet string, he could roughly determine the cultivation base of the mastermind behind the scenes. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he was certainly not a match for the thought fragmentation old monster. However, if he uses the jade slip of an immortal venerated realm attack, it would not be too difficult to kill this thought fragmentation old monster. This person was proficient in the power of desire and the palm puppet technique. Ning Fan would certainly obtain great benefits by killing him. When Fei He carries out his plan, it will be the time for the 4th person to act. At that time, I can use the jade slip of an immortal venerated realm attack to kill Fei He and the others in one fell swoop. Then, I can completely get rid of this hidden danger. Ning Fan made up his mind. When the life immortal realm cultivator of the Jun family saw that Ning Fan was ignoring him, he flew into a rage and leaped onto the high platform. As he made a hand seal, green lightning surged around his body. With a point of his finger, the rumbling green lightning turned into a gigantic dark green lightning beast. It opened its gigantic mouth and tried to devour Ning Fan. This life immortal of the Jun family was in the early stage of the human Xian realm, and he was close to breaking through to the middle stage of the human Xian realm. The power of this attack was so great that it was rare for an early-stage human profound realm cultivator to withstand it. The lightning beast charged at him head-on. Instead of retreating, Ning Fan advanced forward. With a flick of his finger, the lightning beast immediately let out a blood-curdling shriek and shattered into countless lightning sparks. He opened his mouth and swallowed all of the lightning rays into his stomach. When the life-immortal realm expert of the Jun family saw Ning Fan devouring the lightning light of his magic technique, his expression immediately turned extremely terrified. Subconsciously, he wanted to run away. All of a sudden, the puppet strings in his body moved, and his eyes turned blank. Then, a fearless killing intent appeared in his eyes as he ignited his nascent divinity and used a suicidal immortal art. Immortal art, lightning water disintegration. The life-immortal realm expert of the Jun family held a ball of green lightning in his left hand and a ball of blue water mist in his right hand. He suddenly put both of his palms together. Then, the left half of his body broke into lightning sparks bit by bit and the other half of his body broke into water mist bit by bit. This technique had the same effect as the weapon disintegration sword technique. Both of them used self-destruction as the price to injure the enemy. After using the lightning water disintegration technique, the life-immortal realm expert of the Jun family might not be able to keep his life. However, it was enough to severely injure a mid-human profound realm expert. Unfortunately, this level of strength was still far from enough to hurt Ning Fan. Those who have fallen into the realm of puppets will have regrets even if they die. I, Ning Fan, am here to send you to your death. Ning Fan's lips moved and transmitted his voice. When the life-immortal realm expert of the Jun family heard Ning Fan's words, his frenzied eyes actually became a little clearer. His face revealed a hint of gratitude. At the next moment, Ning Fan unleashed his full aura force. The aura force of the peak human profound realm suddenly engulfed the entire place. His 5 fingers formed a palm and struck out. He did not use any divine abilities. Just a casual palm strike of his killed the life-immortal realm expert of the Jun family. His primordial spirit was naturally sealed and kept away. His storage pouch was also taken away. Peak mortal realm. As soon as they saw Ning Fan's cultivation base, everyone on the 3 sides of the high platform exclaimed. Even Lu Lan and Yan Hong were greatly shocked. More than 50 years ago, Ning Fan was just at the peak fragmentation realm. Now, however, he was already at the peak mortal realm. Such a cultivation speed was just too shocking. Ordinary peak fragmentation realm experts would need hundreds or even tens of thousands of years to break through to the next realm in seclusion. Even if everything goes smoothly, it would still take thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years to cultivate from the early mortal realm to the peak mortal realm. Young Master Ning's cultivation speed is not only outstanding among the Eastern Heavens geniuses. I'm afraid no cultivator of this generation in the entire 4 heavens can surpass him. Lu Lan and Yan Hong sighed with admiration. Seeing Ning Fan kill 2 cultivators of the Jun family in a row, Yao Qingyun raised his brows and was in a good mood. The old ancestor of the Jun family's eyes turned gloomy. He seemed to be furious, but no one knew if he was really furious. This was a trap. Ning Fan, Yao Qingyun, Jun Linyuan, old ancestor Wei Chen and Fei He were all part of it. The mastermind had yet to show himself. Ning Fan stared at the cultivators of the Jun family coldly. He raised his hand and pointed at them. All of you, come at me together. It was not arrogance or arrogance. He just had the confidence to eliminate all the cultivators of the Jun family. There were still 74 cultivators of the Jun family. Among them, there were 45 rogue immortals. There were 11 early mortal realm cultivators, 8 mid-mortal realm cultivators, 5 late mortal realm cultivators, 3 peak mortal realm cultivators, 1 early ghost realm cultivator and 1 mid-ghost realm cultivator. With so many experts, even a late Ghost Realm cultivator would be defeated if they attack him at the same time. Yao Qingyun frowned but did not say anything. Lu Lan and Yan Hong, on the other hand, looked worried. They did not think that Ning Fan, who was at the peak mortal realm, could defeat all the cultivators of the Jun family with his own strength. After all the cultivators of the Jun family had trump cards that were given to them by their seniors. Ning Fan could only win if he used the Spirit Blast technique. However, isn't it too wasteful to use the technique in such a situation? The Spirit Blast technique is young Master Ning's strongest trump card. If young Master Ning uses it here, how are you going to protect yourself when you encounter old monster Duzhen in the future? Lu Lan and Yan Hong said worriedly. What an insolent young man. All of you, come at me together. Let's have a taste of his powerful techniques. Jun Linyuan sneered and ordered the cultivators of the Jun family. The cultivators of the Jun family had long been enraged after being looked down upon by Ning Fan. One by one, they leaped onto the high platform. However, the moment they did so, their eyes turned blank. Then, their eyes turned blood red and filled with killing intent. There was no longer any fear or emotion left in them. The only thing left in their eyes was the determination to kill Ning Fan. There is something wrong with the eyes of these cultivators of the Jun family. As for what exactly is wrong, I can't figure it out. Yao Qingyun's brows knitted even tighter. Her hands, which were hidden in her sleeves, were already prepared to take action at any time. Is she planning to save Ning Fan at any time? The high platform was very spacious. 74 experts of the Jun family surrounded Ning Fan. Almost at the same time, all of them attacked at the same time. They took out their abilities and magic treasures and attacked Ning Fan. Ning Fan sighed softly. He took a step forward and the might of his baleful chi soared into the sky. His eyes were filled with boundless ferocity. The powerful baleful chi turned into 74 gigantic blood-red fists and attacked the 74 cultivators of the Jun family on the high platform. Even an ordinary Duzhen would not be able to withstand his baleful chi. Among the rogue immortals, profound mortal realm cultivators and profound ghost realm cultivators, none of them could withstand it. As soon as the blood-red fists landed, 45 rogue immortals were directly turned into blood mist and died instantly. Their magic treasures and abilities were also destroyed by the gigantic blood-red fists. The remaining 29 life immortal realm cultivators who were profound mortal realm cultivators were all injured by the blood-red fists. Their bodies were devoured by the baleful chi and their combat power was reduced by half. Even the two profound ghost realm cultivators felt a sharp pain in their chests under Ning Fan's baleful chi. They took a few steps back before they could stabilize their bodies. However, they could not stabilize their chaotic chi at all. Is he really at the peak profound mortal realm? He can gain the upper hand in front of the group of immortals with just his baleful chi alone. Over 100 profound mortal realm sword cultivators were shocked. After his cultivation base advanced to the second step, Ning Fan had become even more skillful in using his baleful chi. His baleful chi had also become one of Ning Fan's trump cards to protect his life. With the ferocity of Ning Fan's baleful chi, he could almost instantly kill all rogue immortals and restrain any of their abilities. With the strength of his baleful chi, it was enough to wipe out all the profound mortal realm cultivators and profound ghost realm cultivators. However, it was still not enough to withstand the abilities of a life immortal realm cultivator. The 29 life immortal realm cultivators were injured at the same time. However, the attacks of the 29 profound mortal realm cultivators and profound ghost realm cultivators continued to arrive in front of Ning Fan without stopping. Ning Fan lifted one of his feet and stomped on the ground. The ground gave birth to a lead-colored lotus. Then, millions of lotus shadows appeared around his body. Under the defense of the millions of lotus shadows, none of the 29 attacks could break through the defense of the lotus shadows. Perfect. Fei He's eyes were filled with even more greed and desire. He stared at Ning Fan with fiery eyes as if he was looking at the most perfect artwork in the world. The 29 life immortal realm cultivators of the Jun family still wanted to attack after their first attack failed. However, Ning Fan was faster than them. Ning Fan flipped his hand and a dark golden flying sword appeared in his palm out of nowhere. Then, he raised it in the air and it turned into 108,000 illusory sword shadows, forming an illusory sword formation that sealed the entire high platform. Slash! As soon as he uttered the word, an illusory force that could bewitch late Ghost Profound Realm cultivators immediately bewitched the minds of all the Life Immortal Realm cultivators of the June family. Under the layers of illusions, the memories hidden deep in the hearts of all the Life Immortal Realm cultivators of the June family were evoked. An early mortal realm Life Immortal Realm cultivator was immersed in the illusion of his youth. At that time, he was just a village boy in a mountain village. His father held a tobacco pipe in his mouth and taught him how to forge farm tools step by step. His father was a blacksmith. After that, bandits massacred the village. In order to save his own life, he joined the bandits and chopped off his father's head with his own hands. In a trance, his father who had lost his head suddenly had a black gold longsword in his hand, and he slashed it down on his father's head. The illusion stopped there. Then, an illusory sword shadow flashed past and that human profound Life Immortal Realm cultivator died in the sword formation. A late mortal realm Life Immortal Realm cultivator was immersed in the illusion of his youth. At that time, in order to break through to the Gold Core realm, he abandoned his wife and married the disciple of a nascent soul realm Old Monster. His wife committed suicide out of hatred. That was the regret of his life. Today, in the illusion, he saw his wife walking towards him with a smile on her face. His wife was holding a dark golden sword in her hand. She sneered and pierced the sword into his dantian. The late mortal realm Life Immortal Realm cultivator died with guilt in his eyes. That early Ghost Profound Life Immortal Realm cultivator was immersed in the illusion of his twilight years. At that time, in order to break through the bottleneck of the Ghost Profound Realm, he forced himself on his disciple. That night, he ravaged her mercilessly. No matter how his disciple begged him, he did not let her go. Later on, his disciple was plucked to death and he broke through to the early Ghost Profound Realm. In the illusion, his disciple whose body was covered in bruises and blood was walking towards him step by step. With resentment, she pierced the dark golden long sword into his chest. The early Ghost Profound Life Immortal Realm cultivator screamed and died. The illusory sword formation had 108,000 swords. It was enough to cast illusions on 108,000 cultivators at the same time. Every time the illusory sword shadow slashed, someone would definitely die. In just a few breaths' time, the high platform had turned into a river of blood. All the cultivators of the June family had died. Each of their extremely weak primordial spirit was sealed and taken away by Ning Fan. He casually took away all their storage pouches and withdrew the sword formation. He kept all the broken corpses in his cauldron world, leaving Zili to refine the essence of their flesh and blood. What a powerful Dao soldier! At this moment, even Yao Qingyun, Fei He and the other Shikong wore astonished looks on their faces. As for the sword cultivators of the tiny dust sword sect, they looked at Ning Fan as if they were looking at a cold-blooded god of death. The memory-severing Dao sword is quite powerful. Ning Fan nodded with satisfaction. Once the illusory sword formation is activated, all the cultivators who were no match for the illusory sword would die no matter how many of them came. Even if there were 108,000 Life Immortal Realm cultivators, all of them would die if they could not withstand the might of the illusory sword. Lu Lan and Yan Hong's faces were filled with astonishment. If Ning Fan's cultivation base reaches the early truth realm and he is at the same level as them, they certainly would not be able to withstand the might of the memory-severing Dao sword. They would definitely die. The 6 corpse cultivators that Fei He brought along had blank expressions. They did not show any surprise. All of you can come at me together. Don't worry. This time, I won't use the memory-severing Dao sword. Ning Fan's eyes indifferently swept across the group of cultivators of the tiny dust sword sect. There was no arrogance in his eyes. Instead, there was only pity. These people had already been reduced to puppets. There was no way to save them. The only thing he could do was to send them to their deaths and give them a release. Each of the tiny dust sword cultivators was filled with fear. For a moment, none of them dared to go up to the stage and accept the challenge. Old ancestor Wei Chen's eyes darkened. The fingers that were hidden in his sleeves moved. At the next moment, all the tiny dust sword cultivators' eyes became blank. Each of them climbed up the stage fearlessly and surrounded Ning Fan. There was a total of 108 people. At this moment, they formed a circular sword formation. Each of them emitted their sword intent and locked onto Ning Fan. They did not take the initiative to attack. The sword formation of the tiny dust sword sect emphasized on attacking only after the enemy has attacked. Once a person enters the formation and attacks, the sword formation would retaliate to the greatest extent. Ning Fan glanced at the sword formation. With just a glance, he understood that it was a formation that could be activated only after the enemy had attacked. There were no extra emotions in his heart. All he had was calmness. Ning Fan raised both of his hands and performed a hand seal with all 10 of his fingers. Suddenly, his body dispersed into countless black flames. The flames soared into the sky and condensed into a 100,000 zhang large purple-black dragon. This gigantic dragon did not look much different from an ordinary demonic dragon. However, it had a pair of wings. No one knew that the pair of wings were the Fuli wings. This technique was a high-grade immortal technique, Flame Dragon Breath. Ning Fan's flames were still not strong enough. If it could reach the peak 8th grade immortal technique, the destructive power of this technique would increase by another level. However, Ning Fan's demon blood was powerful. The ancestral blood of the Fuli clan was enough to increase the destructive power of this technique by another level. The destructive power of this technique was comparable to a peak grade immortal technique. Even a peak ghost realm cultivator would find it hard to resist the destructive power of this technique. Roar! The purple-black demonic dragon that Ning Fan had transformed into suddenly opened its gigantic mouth and breathed out a purple-black flame breath. The destructive power of the flames came too quickly. It did not give the cultivators of the tiny dust sect enough time to activate the sword formation at all. The rogue immortal cultivators were instantly burned into charcoal. The human profound realm cultivators were also burned into charcoal. 2 early ghost profound realm sword cultivators were on the verge of death. The primordial spirits of the 2 mid-ghost profound realm sword cultivators were severely injured and 70% of their strength was gone. The late ghost profound realm sword cultivator of the tiny dust sect was also injured by the flame dragon breath. However, the killing intent in his hollow eyes became even colder. He raised his hand and was about to take out an attack jade slip of the peak ghost profound realm attack. Ning Fan naturally would not give him the chance to use the jade slip. After dispersing the appearance of the fire dragon, Ning Fan turned back into his white robes. He turned his hand into a palm and 7 layers of palm imprints instantly condensed in his palm. The 7 imprints merged into one and turned into a black and white palm imprint. At this moment, the entire 6 Desires planet was engulfed in darkness. At this moment, only Ning Fan's white robes were fluttering in the pitch-black night sky. As he activated his Dao power, the startling Big Dipper constellation that shone with white light suddenly appeared in the night sky. At this moment, Ning Fan's eyes were only filled with the Dao of obsession and the devil intent. At this moment, Yao Qingyun's eyes were filled with astonishment while Fei He and the other 2 Shikong Shi could not conceal the joy in their eyes. Dao elephant. What a strong Dao elephant. Good, good, good. This young man is very good. This young man is very good. On the surface, this palm imprint looked like the heaven-seizing seal. However, its essence was different. Even Yao Qingyun and Fei He did not associate this palm imprint with the heaven-seizing seal. What they were most shocked about was the strength of Ning Fan's Dao elephant. It was really something that they had never seen before in their lives. Destroy. Ning Fan raised his hand and slammed it down. The entire 6 Desires planet began to tremble violently. At the next moment, the palm imprint that blotted out the sky came crashing down. The entire high platform was razed to the ground. Ning Fan still had full control over the force of this palm, just like how he did not use his full strength when he unleashed the flame dragon breath just now. Otherwise, those cultivators would not just be turned into charcoal. Not only would their corpses be destroyed, their primordial spirits would also be destroyed. Even so, this palm strike could only be described as stunning in the eyes of the cultivators here. Even the sect master of the Six Desires sect, who was in seclusion in the Six Desires sect and did not want to get involved in the matters of the outside world, was also shocked by the destructive power of this palm strike. He was an early crossing truth realm cultivator, but he could not ignore the destructive power of this palm strike. If I am not careful, I will certainly be severely injured by this young man. This young man is just at the mortal profound realm, but he can display such a powerful palm imprint. No one below the crossing truth realm can be a match for this young man. With this palm imprint alone, this young man can become the #1 expert below the true immortal realm, in the Eastern Heaven. My Six Desires sect can't interfere with the immortal cave world of my primogenitor. However, I can seek for greater benefits, and that is to befriend this young man. I will never misjudge him. This young man's future is limitless. In this life, let alone breaking through the void-rending realm and thought-breaking realm, it is highly possible for him to become an immortal venerated realm or even an immortal king realm. His potential is unparalleled in this generation of the Eastern Heaven. Even in the previous generations, there is no one who can compete with him. The sect master of the Six Desires sect thought quickly and made a decision. After the three great forces have explored the secret place of the primogenitor, he must let Ning Fan stay for a period of time to befriend him. He believed in his own judgment. Ning Fan's future was definitely beyond the imagination of ordinary people. After landing on the ruins of the high platform, Ning Fan collected the charred corpses and dismembered corpses on the ground. He also collected the broken storage pouches and the illusory primordial spirits that were not far away from death. After that, his body flashed and he flew back to the giant boat. The Wei Qin sword cultivators and the cultivators of the Jun family had all been slaughtered by him alone. There was no need for them to compete for the 10 spots anymore. He suddenly realized something and let out a soft cough. Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen's expressions changed. They immediately put away their joyful expressions. Just now, when they saw how powerful Ning Fan's palm imprint was, the two of them actually showed a look of surprise and joy for a moment. This was not an expression that they should show, even though they were indeed overjoyed. In the eyes of outsiders, the cultivators of the Jun family and the Wei Qin sword cultivators were all dead. They should be angry instead of feeling joyful. The two of them turned hostile faster than flipping a page of a book. Very soon, their faces were filled with rage and they stared at Ning Fan coldly as if they wanted to kill him with a single palm strike to avenge the deaths of their juniors and disciples. His eyes flickered. He wanted to step forward and protect Ning Fan. However, before he could do anything, Yao Qingyun took a step forward and stood in front of Ning Fan. She stared at Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen with a cold smile. Fellow Taoists, are you trying to touch the outstanding disciple of my slaughter palace? Humph. So what if I do? The two of them were so angry that they laughed instead. If you dare to touch him, I will summon 100 ghost faces and slaughter your Jun family and the Wei Qin sword sect. As soon as they heard her, Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen's eyes widened. They gritted their teeth and suppressed their anger. On the surface, they seemed to be frightened by Yao Qingyun's threat. But in reality, they were just pretending to be angry. Thank you. Be careful of Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen. They seem to be his subordinates. Ning Fan's voice was transmitted to Yao Qingyun's ears. Yao Qingyun wanted to refute him by saying that she was just fulfilling her duty as an elder by helping Ning Fan so that he would not misunderstand her. After hearing Ning Fan's last sentence, Yao Qingyun's eyes flickered slightly. Then, she asked him using telepathy. Are you sure? Yes. If that's the case, you must follow me closely after we enter the cave world. The enemies are 3 Shikong. If you stay too far away from them, it will be very difficult for me to protect you. Yao Qingyun said coldly. Then I'll have to trouble Elder Qingyun to protect me. Ning Fan said with a smile. Indeed, he needed Yao Qingyun's protection. Before the mysterious fourth person shows up, he was not prepared to use his trump card of an immortal venerate. He wanted to eliminate Fei He's group of 4 in one go after that person shows up. Ning Fan could naturally see through Yao Qingyun's repeated attempts to protect him. Even though he did not know what was wrong with Yao Qingyun that made her help him so many times out of the ordinary, he still owed her a favor. Ning Fan's gaze swept across the people on the scene and his mind raced. The cave world could only accommodate 14 people. From the very beginning, Fei He, Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen did not plan to select 10 people from their juniors to enter the cave world. From the very beginning, Fei He's plan was to send 4 Shikong, 2 Duzhen and 7 life immortal realm cultivators into the cave world. From the very beginning, Fei He only planned to bring these 13 people. The last spot was reserved for the person who had yet to show up. 14 people. Not one more and not one less. Ning Fan checked his dantian and found that there were already 184 desire puppet lines in his dantian. As long as the mastermind manipulates the puppet lines, Ning Fan could easily turn into a puppet, desire puppet lines. What can they do to me? Ning Fan sneered inwardly. He activated the yin-yang locket and refined all of the puppet lines. After devouring the 184 puppet strings of desire, Ning Fan's yin-yang transformation technique actually improved tremendously. Desire was originally the best supplement to increase the level of his yin-yang transformation cultivation technique. Lu Lan, Yen Heng and the 6 life immortal realm corpse cultivators returned to the giant ship one after another. The 4 Shikongs discussed for a while more. Then, Fei He steered the giant ship and directly flew towards the black hole whirlpool outside the 6 Desires planet. Since the puppet lines had been planted, Ning Fan was already in their hands. It was time to enter the cave world. The 3 Shikongs had no idea that neither the corpse poison nor the puppet lines could control Ning Fan. This plan that they had meticulously planned for many years was already full of loopholes and it was impossible to fix it. Chapter 753. Just as the ship was about to enter the black hole whirlpool, Yao Qingyun frowned and stopped the ship. He ordered Lu Lan and Yen Heng to stay on planet 6 Desires for the time being before he ordered the ship to enter the black hole. In the end, she was still worried about Lu Lan and Yen Heng. She was not a fool. She had already seen through the strangeness of this mission. Now that she had Ning Fan's reminder, she knew that there would certainly be danger in the immortal cave world. Thus, she did not dare to let her 2 maidservants go with them. She regarded the 2 maids as her closest relatives and could not bear to let them take risks. As for herself, in order to find the desire-relieving pearl, even if she knew that this journey was dangerous, she would still take the risk. As for Ning Fan, when Yao Qingyun ordered the 2 maidservants to return to the 6 Desires planet, Zeng gave Ning Fan a meaningful look. His eyes seemed to be asking Ning Fan if he was afraid of danger and if he wanted to hide in the 6 Desires planet. Ning Fan shook his head slightly and glanced at Fei He. He was telling Yao Qingyun that he was also part of Fei He's plan and that he had to enter the cavern world. Otherwise, Fei He and the others might make a move in advance. Don't worry. With me here, nothing will happen to you. Yao Qingyun coldly transmitted her voice to Ning Fan using telepathy as if she was comforting him. After some thought, she reminded him again. Stay closer to me, or else, all right. Without waiting for Yao Qingyun to finish nagging, Ning Fan had already replied using telepathy. After he finished speaking, he walked to Yao Qingyun's side and stood quite close to her. As the strong wind blew, their sleeves could almost touch each other. You're too close. Yao Qingyun was displeased. I'm afraid of death. It's safer if I stay closer. Ning Fan said with a smile. The tip of his nose smelled the wild ginger flower fragrance on Yao Qingyun's body and his mind gradually calmed down. I didn't expect you to be such a coward. Yao Qingyun laughed mockingly, but her mood was much better. I'm just a commoner. How can I not want to live and not fear death? So this is all you've got? Oh. Could it be that in Elder Azure Cloud's eyes, this Ning's image is very lofty? Humph. What kind of image do you have in this consort's eyes? Even if there is, it would be a bad image. The giant ark entered the black hole whirlpool and traveled through the black hole tunnel. It was Yao Qingyun's first time talking so much. Even though none of the words that came out of her mouth were pleasant, she still talked to Ning Fan throughout the journey. She herself was also quite shocked. Even when she was with Lulan Yanhong, she had never spoken so much. After pondering for a while, she believed that the reason why she could have such a pleasant conversation with Ning Fan was because both of them were standing on the same side at the moment. Their enemy was Fei He. Thinking about it this way, she felt relieved. Fei He's eyes darkened. Yao Qingyun's action of sending Lu Lan and Yan Hong away made him feel a little uneasy. That woman has always been cautious. If it weren't for the desire bead, she wouldn't have barged into this trap. I suspect that she's already discovered our scheme, Fei He said to Jun Linyuan and Patriarch Weichen telepathically. Humph. So what if they found out? With her level of cultivation, she won't be able to escape. Jun Linyuan and Forefather Weichen said disdainfully. You're right. That Ning Fan is already in our hands. Besides, Yao Qingyun has the 7-yin physique, which means that she is afflicted with the poison of desire. As long as we do what we do to her, she won't be able to escape from this predicament. Hee, speaking of which, even if she didn't have the desire poison in her body, how could she be a match for the three of us? This old man is overthinking things. Fei He sneered and did not say anything else. 2 hours later, the gigantic ark passed through the long black hole tunnel and entered the cave world. What entered their sight was a dark and gloomy sky with 6 colors. Below them were ancient ruins that had collapsed. As soon as they entered this world, the eyes of Fei He, Jun Linyuan and Forefather Weichen lit up. Their auras became slightly stronger. As for Yao Qingyun, her body went limp without any warning. In a moment of carelessness, she fell towards Ning Fan, who was next to her. The power of desire in this place is so strong. The poison of desire in her body nearly broke out. Even her 7-yin physique nearly broke out of its seal and acted up. Be careful. The power of desire in this place is very strong. Ning Fan gently held Yao Qingyun's wrist and transferred his magic power to her. His magic power had the effect of easing the desire. Gradually, it calmed the desire in Yao Qingyun's body. Speaking of which, Yao Qingyun was only invaded by the desire because she was caught off guard when she had just entered this world. Yao Qingyun withdrew her wrist uneasily and activated a secret technique to resist the power of desire in this place. Her aura gradually calmed down. Thank you. You're welcome. Ning Fan's eyes scanned across the vast sky. This place was vast. There were 14 gigantic stone pillars that towered into the sky in 14 different directions of this world. The entrance of the black hole was right next to one of the stone pillars. Ning Fan scanned it with his spirit sense and found that the stone pillar was engraved with profound runes. It was because of these runes that the 14 stone pillars could support the 6-colored sky and create this world of desire. This place was the cave world that 6 Desires Immortal King had once created. This world was just the cave of 6 Desires Immortal King. This world was circular like a big circle encasing a small circle. This world was created according to this standard, and it was divided into 2 worlds, the inner and the outer world. The outer circle was outlined by black and white light. The inner circle was outlined by the scarlet light. There were many ruins in the outer area of this world. There were no living beings, but there were many ancient formations and mechanisms. Even a life immortal realm cultivator would lose his life in the outer area if he or she is careless. There was a red underground palace built in the inner area. No one knew how many floors it had. If it was an ordinary life immortal realm cultivator, it would naturally be more suitable for him to seek his fortune in the outer area. However, Ning Fan and the 6 life immortal realm cultivators were very useful. Thus, Fei He would certainly not let them stay in the outer area. If the 3 treasures left behind by 6 Desires Immortal King are really here, they must be in that underground palace. Let's enter the underground palace and find out what's going on. As soon as Fei He finished speaking, he took the lead and flew towards the inner underground palace with the 6 life immortal realm cultivators. Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen looked at Elder Qing Yun with a smile and said, "Elder Qing Yun, please go first. The 2 of us will bring up the rear for you." "Bring up the rear?" Yao Qing Yun sneered. "These 2 are probably afraid that I will run away." Sure enough, Ning Fan was right. Both Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen are not kind people. They are probably in cahoots with Fei He. In other words, I will have to face 3 powerful enemies with my own strength, right? If I have a choice, I will not take the risk. Unfortunately, I have to take this risk just to find a chance to obtain the desire-resolving pearl. Without the desire-resolving pearl, the desire poison will act up one day and the consequences will be unimaginable. Follow me closely. Yao Qing Yun did not refuse. She pulled Ning Fan's arm in a domineering manner and turned into a ray of light, flying towards the inner underground palace. Seeing that Yao Qing Yun had entered the trap obediently, Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen sneered and followed closely behind her, flying towards the underground palace. The entire underground palace was like a gigantic mound that stood on the ground. There was a stone door on the mound. As Fei He arrived, it automatically opened. It was a door of a formation. Once it sensed the arrival of cultivators, it would open on its own. Outside the giant door, there was a broken tablet with the words 6 Desires Palace written on it. Ning Fan only had enough time to see the tablet before he was pulled into the underground palace by Yao Qing Yun. The giant door only closed after everyone had entered the underground palace. What they saw was the scenery of the first floor of the underground palace. On the first floor of the underground palace stood 108 golden armors that were as large as mountains. The ground was littered with countless broken skeletons. They seemed to be the victims who had been killed by the Mountain of Blades. Be careful. This is an ancient true immortal grand formation. Even though I don't know what this formation is, I know that it is very dangerous. Once. Just as Fei He was about to remind everyone to be careful of this formation, he was interrupted by Yao Qing Yun. This formation is called the Golden Armor Immortal Formation. His indifferent tone was unknown if he was talking to Fei He and the others or Ning Fan. As soon as she finished her words, Yao Qing Yun directly pulled Ning Fan and turned into a ray of light, directly entering the formation. At the moment she entered the formation, the golden armors shone brightly. The metal elemental spiritual qi in the area seeped into the golden armors. The spiritual qi condensed into illusory giants. The giants were wearing the golden armors that had no owner just now. In the blink of an eye, there were 108 golden deities surrounding Yao Qing Yun. Each of the golden deities had already reached the peak of the crossing truth realm. This is bad. That Yao Qing Yun must not die in the formation. Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen's expressions changed drastically. There was even a hint of fear in their eyes. Fei He waved his hand, gesturing them not to worry. Then, he continued. That Yao Qing Yun is most proficient in formations. Since she wants to enter the formation, she must have full confidence in breaking it. Full confidence? He. In the past, the 3 of us almost died in this formation. How could she? Old ancestor Wei Chen said disapprovingly. Silence. Don't say anything unnecessary. Don't make them wary. Fei He immediately reprimanded him. Old ancestor Wei Chen's eyes flashed with anger. However, he did not refute Fei He's words. When he looked at the formation, he could not help but look surprised. Yao Qingyun's figure was light and her steps were gentle. She was like a green butterfly dancing among the flowers. She stepped on the extremely profound formation positions and moved like a graceful shadow, moving through the attacks of the 108 golden deities. Not a single attack of the golden deities could even touch her sleeve. In this grand formation, she came and went calmly. She only left a faint fragrance in the places she passed by. Fei He had long been accustomed to her peerless and elegant demeanor. His expression was like that of a zombie, unmoved. However, it was Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen's first time seeing her. The shock they felt was indescribable. Jun Linyuan's slightly drunk eyes revealed a hint of seriousness while old ancestor Wei Chen's eyes were filled with astonishment. Wei Chen thought that his Dao heart was firm. However, after seeing Yao Qingyun's peerless beauty, his dead heart actually palpitated a little. He wanted to get this woman. Unfortunately, he could not do that. Not only could he not get this woman, but he also had to destroy her with his own hands. Everything he did was for, if he offends that person, he would certainly die. Being dragged by Yao Qingyun, they stepped on the profound formation positions and easily avoided the attacks of all the golden deities. All of these golden deities were formed by the power of the formation. As long as they break through this formation, they would naturally be able to predict the enemy's moves and avoid all attacks. I didn't expect Yao Qingyun's innate talent in the Tao of formations to be so high. Ning Fan could not help but praise her inwardly. He was the closest to Yao Qingyun. Moreover, what Yao Qingyun did was not only break through the formation calmly but also secretly changed the position of the formation I without anyone noticing. Ning Fan could imagine how Fei He and the others would be trapped in this formation after he and Yao Qingyun break through it. Yao Qingyun was indeed not a fool. The reason why she broke through the formation first was to cause trouble for Fei He and the others. Humph. So what? I'm afraid that you will never be able to reach this palace's array Dao in this lifetime. Yao Qingyun sneered, her expression rather proud. She indeed had the right to be proud. Your innate talent in the Tao of formations is indeed very high. However, I will surpass you one day. Ning Fan did not say the second half of his sentence as he was afraid that it would hurt Yao Qingyun's feelings. Given his innate talent, it was only a matter of time before he surpassed Yao Qingyun. Humph. It's good that you know. So, don't ever provoke me. Otherwise, I can just casually set up a grand formation and it will be enough to kill you hundreds of times. After being praised by Ning Fan, Yao Qingyun actually felt that her mood was quite good. Her innate talent in the Tao of formations was so high that even Shadi had praised her before. However, even Shadi's praise was not as pleasing to the ears as Ning Fan's. Rumble. Rumble. Rumble, mountains and rivers were turned into ashes by the golden deities. The remains of the fallen were also crushed. In the end, Yao Qingyun brought Ning Fan to the other side of the grand formation unscathed. There was an entrance to the second floor of the underground palace. Elder Fei He, I'll leave first to look for the 6 desires and 3 treasures. Yao Qingyun turned to look at Fei He and the others. With a cold smirk, she grabbed Ning Fan and turned into a ray of light, directly flying to the second floor of the underground palace. Elder Qingyun, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you wait for us? Fei He sneered and secretly took out a formation plate. That formation plate could control the grand formation of this place. While performing a hand seal to activate the formation plate, Fei He's expression turned extremely gloomy and unpleasant. The formation plate actually failed to shut down the grand formation. None of the 108 golden deities had disappeared. Fei He's expression changed. Without saying a word, he leaped into the formation. Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen also realized the severity of the situation and quickly followed Fei He into the formation. The 3 of them were already familiar with the mysteries of this formation. They stepped on the positions that Yao Qingyun had directly stepped on, trying to avoid the attacks of the golden deities and forcibly pass through the formation. However, something unbelievable happened. The attacks of the 108 golden deities were greatly different from before. They had been tampered with by someone. Someone had secretly moved the formation eye. That was the reason why the formation plate had failed. It's Yao Qingyun. It's that bitch. How dare she tamper with this formation without permission? Is she trying to kill us? Jun Linyuan was enraged. Yao Qingyun. Old ancestor Wei Chen's eyes narrowed. There was anger in them but also a hint of indescribable emotion. What a powerful woman. She could actually secretly tamper with such a high-level grand formation. How wonderful it would be if I can make use of such an outstanding woman. My Wei Qin sword sect will certainly prosper because of this. It's a pity. Such an outstanding woman actually has to be tainted by Ning Fan. When old ancestor Wei Qin thought of Yao Qingyun groveling under Ning Fan and enjoying herself, he clenched his fists tightly. He actually had some killing intent towards Ning Fan. He was the first to calm down. With a wave of his hand, he blocked the attacks of the golden deities with difficulty. His expression was extremely gloomy. After a while, he said coldly, "Don't be afraid. Even if that Yao Qingyun enters the depths of the underground palace first, she won't be able to find the desire-resolving pearl and get rid of the desire poison in her body. She is destined to not be able to escape from this trap. Let the three of us work together to break this formation once more." Rumble. 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 The three Shikong deities joined forces and fought against the 108 golden deities. The powerful waves of their magic techniques were enough to flatten an entire low-grade star region. With the three of them working together, He gained a slight upper hand. However, if they want to forcefully break the grand formation and eliminate the 108 golden deities, they would need at least a few days. No, it won't even take a few days. He sneered. That person is probably coming soon. If that person comes, this formation will be easily broken. On the second floor of the underground palace, Yao Qingyun held Ning Fan's hand tightly. With a cold expression, she took out a handkerchief and slowly wiped her hands. Her expression was as disgusted as it could be. It was as if Ning Fan was so dirty that she would wash her hands 100 times just by touching him. Ning Fan quietly watched Yao Qingyun's actions and shook his head helplessly. He always felt that Yao Qingyun's way of doing things was a little childish. "I've changed the grand formation. He and the others definitely won't be able to break it in less than a few days. Are you going to follow me to the bottom of the underground palace to search for treasures, or are you going to wait here for my return?" Yao Qingyun finished wiping her hands and kept her handkerchief. Then, she asked, "If Ning Fan is really dirty, why didn't he throw away the handkerchief that he used to wipe his hands? I'll go with you. I'm afraid of death if I stay here alone." Ning Fan smiled and glanced at the second floor of the underground palace. There was a layer of blood-red light that shot up to the sky. In the vast sky, there were undead spirits with dense wood qi. There were both males and females among those undead spirits. The males were handsome while the females were slim and graceful. However, the terrifying thing was that all of the undead spirits' eyes were gouged out and black blood was flowing out of them. Each of the male undead spirits was holding a bamboo flute in their hands and floating in the sky. Each of the female undead spirits was holding a jade zither in their arms while floating on the clouds. Strands of decadent music were played by the dead spirits, which contained boundless desires. Each of the undead spirits here had a cultivation base of the crossing true realm. Humph. You're still so afraid of death, huh? Very well. I'll give you a special permission to travel with me. I still need your help to deal with the decadent music in this second floor. Yao Qingyun sneered. Every time she heard Ning Fan say that he was afraid of death, she would be in a good mood. Ning Fan's spirit sense scanned through the second floor of the underground palace. His eyes gradually turned solemn. He had a feeling that the second floor of the underground palace was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. The most dangerous place in the second floor did not seem to be the undead spirits. Instead, there was an extremely dangerous qi of desire hidden in the depths of this place. Chapter 754. Seeing Ning Fan's serious expression, as if he had already sensed the danger of the second floor, Yao Qingyun raised her brows and explained. In this floor of the underground palace, what you need to be wary of the most isn't the undead spirits but the decadent sound of their flutes. That sound is filled with desires and formed an invisible sound formation. In ancient times, this formation was called the string and bamboo spirit dispelling formation. This sound formation has a formation spirit. That formation spirit is at the early void shedding realm. Even I can't defeat it directly. You can't underestimate it. These undead spirits are formed by magical techniques. They can't be killed and no one can stop them from playing the flute or the zither. As long as the sound of the flute and the zither can't be broken, this formation can't be broken. Once you force your way into this formation, you will be attacked by the formation spirit. In order to break this formation, you need to break the sound formation with sound attacks. However, according to my guess, even if you break the sound formation, you will only weaken the formation spirit's cultivation base at most. You won't be able to get rid of it completely. Speaking of this, Yao Qingyun frowned. Even if the sound formation is broken, the formation spirit won't disappear? Why? Ning Fan was slightly surprised. Currently, his cultivation base in the Tao of formation was far inferior to Yao Qingyun's. It was reasonable for him to have doubts. I feel that this underground palace itself is a grand formation. The golden armor immortal formation on the first floor is a grand formation of the metal element. The string and bamboo spirit dispelling formation on this floor is a grand formation of the wood element. The grand forces of the first and second floors actually have a mysterious connection. If my guess is correct, this underground palace has at least 5 floors. Moreover, the first 5 floors are arranged according to the 5 elements. When combined, they will form a killing formation. A killing formation, huh? Ning Fan's eyes flickered. If this so-called 5 elements grand formation really exists and if he has enough time, he would not mind devouring all of the 5 elements' power in the formation. It should be able to greatly increase the power of the great 5 elements physique. Do you want to play the zither or the flute? Yao Qingyun suddenly asked. What do you mean? Ning Fan was stunned and asked. Your cultivation base isn't enough to break the formation directly. You will play the zither to help me break the formation. If you play the zither, I will use your music to break the sound formation. If you play the zither, I will break the formation with the sound of the zither. If you play the flute, I will break the formation with the sound of the flute. Zither. Ning Fan suddenly recalled the time when Su Qiuling taught him how to play the zither. His face was full of reminiscence. That expression made Yao Qingyun feel extremely irritated, extremely unpleasant. This brat had a blissful expression on his face. It was obvious that he was thinking of a woman. What made her the most upset was not that Ning Fan was thinking about women, but that ever since the blood pool baptism, she had been unknowingly affected by Ning Fan's words. Alright, I'll lend you this guqin. Play the song you're best at. Yao Qingyun patted her storage pouch and took out a zither Dao weapon made of frost parasol cold wood. Yao Qingyun's Dao weapon was actually a zither. Ning Fan sat on the ground and placed the zither on his lap. He felt that the zither was incomparably cold. That coldness was grief, despair, unwillingness, helplessness, and the loneliness of being isolated from the world. This zither was Yao Qingyun's Dao weapon. All of the concepts and emotions within it came from the depths of Yao Qingyun's heart. Back then, when Yao Qingyun had refined this Dao weapon, she had been filled with grief and despair. How sorrowful must it be to be able to cast such a zither, 3 feet, 6 inches, and 6 parts. Every string and every column was filled with a sorrowful aura. There were bloodstains on all 7 strings. This zither was too sorrowful. What do you think of my Dao weapon? Yao Qingyun could not help but feel a lot better when she saw Ning Fan looking at the zither so seriously. It's a very good Dao weapon. This Dao weapon has been infused with emotions. Its power shouldn't be weak. Unfortunately, this zither was too sorrowful. Ning Fan naturally would not say the latter half of the sentence. You have good eyesight. The power of this zither naturally can't be weak. I once used this severing cloud zither to slaughter an entire low-grade star region with a single song. After hearing Ning Fan's praise, Yao Qingyun nodded satisfyingly. Then, she took out a jade slip. What was engraved on it was a song score. This song score records my strongest sound technique. When you play this song, I can display my strongest ability and break the formation in one fell swoop. Alright. Ning Fan received the jade slip and glanced at it, memorizing the song score in his heart. If Ning Fan's cultivation base was high enough and he was proficient in sound techniques, this song would be comparable to a shedding void realm ability. Its power would be terrifying. Being able to obtain such a powerful immortal song for free was also considered a gain. When he was about to return the jade slip, Yao Qingyun did not want it anymore. I find the things that you have touched dirty. I don't want them anymore. This jade slip is yours. Her words were still annoying, but Ning Fan vaguely understood that Yao Qingyun was giving him an opportunity. After thinking for a while, he did not reject her and kept the jade slip. His 10 fingers stroked the strings of the zither. When he closed his eyes, a sorrowful song was played. At this moment, Ning Fan's robes were as white as snow. His black hair was like a waterfall. His expression was as leisurely as an immortal. Although it was a sorrowful song, when played by him, it gradually became sorrowful but did not hurt. If one wanted to play such an effect, it was no longer possible to rely on one's superb zither skills. A zither player must have a strong heart. He must erase all the sorrows in his heart. He must also keep all the sorrowful past and remember it in his heart. Only then could he be sorrowful but not hurt. When Yao Qingyun suddenly heard this song, her phoenix eyes were dazed, as if she had recalled the sorrowful past. This song was composed by her life experiences. It contained her Tao, her sorrow, and her loneliness. She rarely used her sound technique to kill her enemies. Even though it was her strongest ability, every time she used it, she would recall the past and feel pain in her heart. Originally, she thought that she would feel pain again when she heard this song. However, when Ning Fan played this song, not only did she no longer feel pain, she even felt that the knot in her heart was slowly being lifted. Sorrowful but not hurt. Sorrowful but not hurt, Yao Qingyun suddenly had an epiphany. She finally knew how to face her past. If she could not let go of the past, then there was no need to let go. As long as her heart was not sorrowful, so what if this song was sorrowful? At that moment, Yao Qingyun seemed to have let go of all the knots in her heart. At this moment, she actually faintly touched the bottleneck of the mid-shedding void realm. When one's cultivation base reached the shedding void realm, it was already very difficult to increase one's cultivation base by relying on pills, Tao fruits, and incense flames. The shedding void realm and the shedding void realm were the keys to cultivating this realm. At this moment, Yao Qingyun had let go of the sorrows in her heart and retained the beautiful memories of the past. Her Tao had become even more complete. After a long time, Yao Qingyun finally regained her senses. Ning Fan had already finished playing the zither and was looking at her with a strange expression. Very nice. Are you intoxicated? Didn't you say that you want to break the formation? Nice? Are you kidding me? Your zither skills can only be considered above average at most. It's still far from the level where it can make me intoxicated. However, your Tao of the zither is something that even I can't reach. Sorrowful but not hurt. You can do it easily, but I just realized it today. Yao Qingyun would definitely not tell Ning Fan the second half of her sentence. How could she possibly do something stupid like praising Ning Fan? Continue playing. Don't stop. I still need to listen to it a few more times. Only then can I perfectly perform my sound technique according to your melody. Yao Qingyun said in a serious tone. All right. Ning Fan shook his head. He kept having a feeling that Yao Qingyun was not only listening to his zither because she wanted to break the formation. She also had other motives. Yao Qingyun indeed had her own motives. She wanted to continue listening to Ning Fan play the zither to completely erase the sorrows in her heart. After returning to the slaughter palace, she only needed to go into seclusion for a long period of time and she would be able to break through to the mid-void shedding realm. How could Yao Qingyun not grasp such an excellent opportunity to advance? Thus, Ning Fan played the zither over and over again. She listened to him over and over again. Gradually, Shuang Han's beautiful face turned gentle. In the end, she stroked her black hair and smiled sweetly. Ever since she left the Yao family in a sorry state in the past, this was the first time she smiled from the bottom of her heart. At this moment, there was no longer any sadness in her heart. Thank you. Yao Qingyun's voice was very soft, like the fragrance of wild ginger flowers that dispersed with the wind. Thank you. Ning Fan looked at Yao Qingyun with a strange expression. He had only played the zither a few times, but he actually made Yao Qingyun say thank you willingly. Ning Fan knew his own limits. He did not think that his zither skills were so good that he could move Yao Qingyun's twisted heart. It's nothing. Start breaking the formation. Yao Qingyun narrowed her eyes. All of a sudden, she moved her feet lightly and began to dance with Ning Fan's zither music. Her light green dress fluttered in the wind as she danced. Suddenly, using her right foot as the axis, she gently waved her sleeves and her delicate body began to rotate. Her body was completely stretched, making her look like a green butterfly that was dancing. Her black hair fluttered with the wind. The light green ribbon that bound her hair also fluttered in the wind. There was no sadness or indifference. There was only the calmness after seeing all the bustling scenes. Her slightly narrowed eyes were as calm as water. Her dance became even more graceful, like the clouds. Every frown and smile of hers was like a swaying nebula. A light fragrance drifted into Ning Fan's nose. Even though it was very faint, it could not be erased. Ning Fan played the zither with his 10 fingers, but his eyes were fixed on Yao Qingyun. He could not shift his gaze away. He did not have any desires. He just felt that this dance was very beautiful, so beautiful that he could not bear to interrupt it. No matter how stupid a woman is, she will also have a skill. Ning Fan thought inwardly. If Yao Qingyun knows about this thought, it is unknown whether she would be angry or not. Yao Qingyun danced with Ning Fan's music. Her dance steps were light and graceful. Wherever she went, her sound was condensed into a formation. She was really breaking the formation. Using her dance to condense sound and using her music to break the sound formation. The sound formation under her feet gradually took shape. The grand momentum of the entire second floor of the underground palace was divided into two. Half of it was taken away by the sound formation controlled by the undead spirits, while the other half was taken away by Yao Qingyun. The power of the formation was entirely dependent on its momentum. Without momentum, one would not be able to form a formation. Controlling half of the grand momentum was already enough for Yao Qingyun to break the formation. She suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were as cold as water. When she pointed at a certain spot in the sky, a ray of green light shot out from her finger, bringing along the sound of Ning Fan's zither. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's zither music spread to every corner of the second floor of the underground palace like waves. As a result, the rhythm of the zither music played by the undead spirits was disrupted. Rhythm was one of the most important aspects of the palm momentum of a sound formation. Once the rhythm was disrupted, the sound formation would naturally be disrupted. Those who disrupted the immortal music of 6 desires, kill. Each of the undead spirits was enraged. They charged towards Yao Qingyun and Ning Fan with murderous intent. Yao Qingyun sneered disdainfully and instructed Ning Fan. You play the zither. I'll kill them. She continued to dance as usual. However, every time she took a step, an undead spirit would be destroyed by the grand momentum. These undead spirits were formed by magic techniques. They were born because of the momentum. It was difficult for divine abilities and magic techniques to destroy them. Only by breaking the momentum with the momentum could one have a chance to kill them. Bang! 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 Each of the undead spirits lost their lives under Yao Qingyun's dance. After a single dance, all of the undead spirits in this place were dead. Finally, an unusually strong qi gradually condensed on the second floor of the underground palace. A 3-headed giant suddenly appeared in the sky. It was clad in green devil armor and its body was shrouded in devil qi. The moment Ning Fan saw the 3-headed giant, his 10 fingers did not stop moving. His expression did not change, but his heart was filled with shock. It was because the three-headed giant was actually the corpse of an ancient devil. The ancient devil's corpse was left here as the spirit of the formation. This corpse was controlled by the sound formation. Since Yao Qingyun wanted to break the sound formation, he had to kill her. He was originally an ancient devil that was comparable to an early shedding void realm cultivator. During his lifetime, he could kill early shedding void realm cultivators with his physical strength. Now that he was dead, he only had a strong physical body. He could no longer use any ancient devil abilities. Moreover, the sound formation was broken by Yao Qingyun. His strength was weakened and his movements were slowed down. Even if his physical body was strong, it would be difficult for him to use his physical strength. It's actually an ancient devil. Unfortunately, it's just an ancient devil corpse. It's useless. If it's a living ancient devil, it would be very useful to bring it back. I might be able to find out the secret of the blood of the ancient devil clan. What a pity. Yao Qingyun tapped the ground with the tip of her feet and flew up. With a wave of her hand, the severing cloud zither that was originally on Ning Fan's lap immediately returned to her hand. This was her Dao weapon. She could summon it back as she pleased. Break! Yao Qingyun held the zither with one hand and plucked the strings with the other. Immediately, a wave that was as clear as water rippled violently. That wave was formed by the sound of the zither. Wherever the sound of the zither passed, mountains would crumble into dust. As for the ancient devil who was originally filled with killing intent, its eyes suddenly turned blank and its corpse fell to the ground with a loud bang. The sound formation was broken. If Yao Qingyun were to face the ancient devil head-on, she would only have a 50% chance of winning at most. Even if she wins, she would certainly suffer heavy injuries. Today, she was dancing with Ning Fan while he was playing the zither. However, they managed to break the sound formation and defeat the ancient devil. Luck! Luck! This ancient devil isn't a living creature. It's just a corpse. Moreover, it has been dead for many years. The essence of its flesh and blood has already been exhausted. It's useless to keep it. It's better to destroy it. As soon as Yao Qingyun finished speaking, she plucked the strings of the zither, intending to destroy the corpse. Ning Fan's expression changed. With a sway of his body, he appeared in front of Yao Qingyun and said hastily, "This corpse might be useful to me." It was just a possibility. Ning Fan still did not know the cultivation method of the ancient devil. He wondered if he could find some useful information from the devil corpse. "You need this corpse?" Yao Qingyun was stunned. Then, she looked at Ning Fan with great interest. "Yes. If you want it, then beg me." Yao Qingyun raised her head proudly with a complacent expression. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was speechless. Could this Yao Qingyun be more childish? "If you don't beg me, I will destroy this ancient devil corpse." Ning Fan shook his head helplessly. He was not going to beg Yao Qingyun for an ancient devil corpse. This ancient devil corpse was indeed useless. The essence of its flesh and blood had already been exhausted. It could not be used to refine puppets or concoct medicines. It was completely useless. The only thing it could be used for was to study it. As for the ancient devil with ancestral blood, Ning Fan was probably the only one who could study it. Ning Fan wanted to find information about the second step of the ancient devil realm from this ancient devil corpse so that he could continue his cultivation. However, he did not have the confidence to find anything from this ancient devil corpse. He wouldn't beg Yao Qingyun for an uncertain factor. Besides, if Ning Fan really wants to find out the cultivation method of the second step of the ancient devil realm, he might not necessarily need to study this ancient devil corpse. In the past 4 days, there were no true ancient devils but there were fake ancient devils. Many body refinement immortal sects had mastered the cultivation method of incomplete talismans. The so-called incomplete talismans were imitations of the devil talismans of the ancient devils. They were used as a medium to refine essence qi. Among these body refinement immortal sects, many of them knew the cultivation method of the ancient devils. However, they did not know the method to refine the devil talismans. Hence, they would never be able to become true ancient devils. Since Yao Qingyun did not want to give up this ancient devil corpse, Ning Fan did not ask for it. He would try to study the ancient devil realm in the future. Let's go to the third floor. Ning Fan shook his head and flew to the third floor of the underground palace. Yao Qingyun was stunned. She could clearly see that Ning Fan wanted this ancient devil corpse. Why did he not want it? Was it because he did not want to beg her? Would it kill him to beg her? Yao Qingyun played the zither and was about to destroy the ancient devil corpse. However, right before she released the sound attack, she hesitated. Yao Qingyun gritted her teeth and kept the severing cloud zither unhappily. With a flick of her sleeve, she kept the gigantic ancient devil corpse into a storage pouch. Then, she took a step forward and caught up with Ning Fan. Take it. Consider it a reward from me. Thank you for your reward, Elder Qingyun. Seeing that Ning Fan was tactful and kept the ancient devil corpse, Yao Qingyun smiled satisfyingly. Then, she grabbed Ning Fan and flew to the third floor. The third floor of the underground palace was a world of ice. Sure enough, there was a grand formation of water element here. The first floor was metal, the second floor was wood and the third floor was water. In this floor, there was a grand formation of ice dragons. Thousands of ice dragons at the transcending truth realm hovered in the sky. This number is a little too much. Yao Qingyun frowned. Ning Fan pondered for a while and passed a treasure to Yao Qingyun. It could be considered as a temporary loan for her. The treasure of dragon suppression. Yao Qingyun held the Taigong fish and looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. How could he have the treasure of dragon suppression? Chapter 755. The dragon subduing spirit iron was not an especially precious item. A piece of spirit iron was only worth 2 million myriad Tao crystals. But this was just the price of the past. 100,000 years ago, the only mine in the Eastern Heaven immortal world that could produce dragon-subduing spirit iron was destroyed. Since then, the dragon-subduing treasure had almost disappeared from the Eastern Heaven. Occasionally, there would be one or two dragon-suppressing treasures and spirit iron, but most of them were brought to Eastern Sky by the cultivators of the other three heavens. Speaking of which, the dragon-suppressing force that Ning Fan had obtained from Tai Gong was not enough to instantly kill Du Zhen or even a life-immortal realm expert. Although it couldn't kill them instantly, it could still greatly restrain dragon clan cultivators. If he were to fight against a life-immortal demon dragon, he would be able to suppress his opponent's cultivation level by at least 2 to 3 small realms. Even against a true crossing realm demonic dragon, it was enough to suppress it. If not for Taigong fishing, Yao Qingyun would have to go through an unimaginably bitter battle to slay the thousands of true ice dragons. With the Taigong fish in hand, Yao Qingyun's situation would be much better with a trace of the power of the dragon. Forget it, I don't have a dragon-suppressing treasure in hand, so I'll borrow it for the time being. Wait here for me to break the formation. Yao Qingyun shook the Taigong hook, and it immediately turned into a purple-gold snake spear. Wisps of dragon-suppressing power quickly spread across the entire third floor of the underground palace. With a tap of her foot, Yao Qingyun turned into a streak of azure light and flew into the center of the ice dragon formation. These ice dragons were at the early stage of the crossing truth realm. After their cultivation was suppressed by the power of the suppressing dragon, their cultivation fell from the crossing truth realm to the peak of the ghost profound realm. Streaks of purplish golden light swept past, and the ice dragons were immediately shattered into ice shards, scattering all over the ground. 2 hours later, thousands of ice dragons were slain by Yao Qingyun. In a flash, Yao Qingyun flew back to Ning Fan's side. His breathing was slightly heavy and his chest was rising and falling slightly. It seemed like killing the ice dragon was not as easy as he had imagined. I've used up a lot of my magic power. I need to recover before I enter the 4th floor. After returning the Taigong fish to Ning Fan, Yao Qingyun immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and consumed some pills to restore her magic power. I will protect you. Ning Fan said. You? If Fei He and the others catch up, you won't be able to protect me with your meager cultivation. Yao Qingyun pretended to be disdainful and snorted, but the corner of her mouth curved, betraying her true emotions. She was probably very satisfied with Ning Fan's action of protecting her. Yao Qingyun was busy recovering her magic power while Ning Fan was on full alert, paying attention to the surroundings. Once there was any strange movement, he would immediately take action and use his trump card. He had accompanied Yao Qingyun to break through 3 layers of the Grand Array, and Yao Qingyun had broken through 3 arrays in a row. After breaking through the 3 arrays, she would secretly alter the Grand Array. He had obtained quite a lot of insights on the Tao of formations during this trip. However, he did not have the time to carefully comprehend them now. After another 4 hours, the entire underground palace suddenly trembled slightly. The trembling was extremely weak, but it caused Yao Qingyun to open her eyes in alarm. At this moment, Yao Qingyun's mana had not fully recovered, but she had recovered quite a bit. She slowly stood up, but her brows were tightly furrowed. I suddenly felt a sense of unease in my heart. That slight tremble just now seemed to have come from the first floor. Perhaps Fei He and the others had already broken through the first layer of the formation. Let's quickly go to the 4th floor. As soon as Yao Qingyun finished speaking, she grabbed Ning Fan and flew towards the 4th floor in a flash of green light. Has the 4th person appeared? Ning Fan's heart was also filled with an extremely uneasy feeling. The yin-yang locket in his dantian kept trembling without any rhythm. There was a new arrival in the 6 Desires underground palace. Moreover, the new arrival possessed a heaven-defying desire power. Even if they were still in the 1st floor of the underground palace, they could still cause the yin-yang locket to sense them. This sense was very similar to the sense of the desire puppet string, but it was also somewhat different. The new arrival might be the person who controlled the group of cultivators using the desire puppet string, but it might also not be. The uneasiness in her heart grew stronger and stronger. Yao Qingyun moved faster and faster, holding Ning Fan's hand and dashing into the 4th floor of the underground palace. The 4th floor of the underground palace was a world of flames. Above the sea of flames, there were fire giants walking back and forth. Each of them had the cultivation base of the Crossing Truth Realm. This is a Sea of Flames Grand Formation, called. Yao Qingyun's tone suddenly became abnormal. Her voice was soft and charming. Ning Fan frowned. He had been holding Yao Qingyun's hand all this while. Naturally, he could feel that her palm was getting hotter and hotter after entering the 4th floor of the underground palace. Then, he looked at Yao Qingyun's face and saw that her face was also turning abnormally red. Her eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of mist, blurred and charming. Her lips were panting softly. Her breath smelled like orchids. This appearance was extremely similar to the symptoms of the desire poison when the seal on her physique was broken in the blood pool. The desire poison is acting up, isn't it? Ning Fan asked with a frown. I don't know why, but suddenly, it's hateful. Yao Qingyun's chest heaved up and down as she panted lightly. Her expression when she looked at Ning Fan had a hint of flirtatious expression. As soon as they entered the 4th floor, her desire poison began to act up. The seal on her 7-yin physique was also being devoured by the desire poison bit by bit. She did not know why such a situation would happen. There were still 3 powerful enemies in the underground palace, but her desire poison just had to act up at this moment. Damn it, she bit the tip of her tongue fiercely, letting the dark red blood flow out from the corner of her lips. Yao Qingyun tried to use the pain to suppress the desire poison. However, she realized that she could not suppress it at all. She looked at Ning Fan helplessly. She only felt that her heart was incomparably empty, as if there was a huge hole that could not be filled and needed to be comforted. Don't lose your mind. Ning Fan transmitted his magic power into Yao Qingyun's body through their tightly held palms and reminded her. If it was in the past, Ning Fan would certainly be able to suppress the desire poison in Yao Qingyun's body with the help of the yin-yang transformation. However, this time, for some unknown reason, the effect of the yin-yang transformation in suppressing the desire poison was greatly weakened. Even with Ning Fan's help, Yao Qingyun still could not completely suppress the desire poison in her body. With Ning Fan's help, Yao Qingyun's eyes became a little clearer and she regained some of her rationality. However, her body was still very weak and she could not even use half of her magic power. What should I do with my current body condition? I can't get through the 4th level of the Grand Formation. Yao Qingyun's body was so weak that she almost lost the strength to stand. Her hot body slightly leaned against Ning Fan. She felt that Ning Fan's body was very cold and she really wanted to get closer to him. Is it because the 4th person has entered the underground palace? Ning Fan's eyes darkened. He faintly sensed that the change in Yao Qingyun's body was related to the 4th person. If the 4th person had already arrived, he would not mind returning to the upper level of the underground palace and take out the jade slip that contained the attack of an immortal venerate to kill Fei He and the others. His eyes flashed with a blue rain intent. All of a sudden, it drizzled from the 1st to the 4th level of the underground palace. At this moment, Ning Fan's spirit sense extended back to the first few levels. He saw an old man wearing a black cloak in the 1st level of the underground palace. He was performing a desire poison secret technique with his 10 fingers. This secret technique was the culprit that triggered the desire poison in Yao Qingyun's body. Behind the cloaked old man, Fei He and the other 2 Shikongshi were standing respectfully. Under the feet of the cloaked old man were the remains of 108 golden gods. That mysterious cloaked old man was an intermediate thought fragmentation expert. After he arrived, he casually broke the 1st level of the Grand Formation and saved Fei He and the others. After that, he activated the secret technique to trigger the desire poison in Yao Qingyun's body. Just as he was performing the technique, a drizzle suddenly fell from the sky. At the moment when the drizzle fell, the cloaked old man raised his empty eyes. Black blood flowed out from his eyes and there were no eyeballs. Oh! There's a spirit sense hidden in the rain. Is it trying to spy on me? Judging from the strength of this spirit sense, the one who performed the technique must be the peak human profound realm vessel. Humph! What a reckless vessel! The cloaked old man snorted coldly. A huge destructive force immediately spread out, intending to mince Ning Fan's spirit sense in the drizzle. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with surprise. He quickly dispelled the rain technique and withdrew his spirit sense. Even so, he was still a step too late. Most of his spirit sense was minced and he felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. He was severely injured by the cloaked old man's cold snort. Just a cold snort was enough to severely injure Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. This was the strength of a thought fragmentation cultivator. This person only needed a gaze and a word to kill Ning Fan. A thought fragmentation cultivator was definitely not someone Ning Fan could defeat. A trace of black blood mixed with the desire poison flowed out from the corner of Ning Fan's mouth. He wiped it away casually and his eyes flashed with cold light. You! How did you get the desire poison too? Yao Qingyun asked while panting lightly. Her eyes were filled with concern. Her mind was in a mess and she could not hide her true feelings at all. The 4th person has entered the underground palace. No, to be precise, this person isn't that person. This person is just a corpse controlled by the puppet strings. Ning Fan's tone was calm. He activated the power of the yin-yang locket and instantly eliminated the desire poison in his body. He was not afraid of the desire poison. The 4th person. Puppet strings? Corpse. What is that? I don't understand. Yao Qingyun was confused again. Her mind was blank and it was hard for her to think. Yao Qingyun, who was affected by the desire poison, didn't have high combat strength and her mind was in a mess. She was definitely a lamb waiting to be slaughtered when she faced Fei He and the others. If Ning Fan wasn't here, Yao Qingyun wouldn't be able to escape today. The 4th person is a great enemy. Ning Fan's eyes were extremely solemn. He had already taken out the jade slip containing the attack of an immortal venerable from the profound Yin world and hid it in his sleeve. He was very sure that the 4th person was in this underground palace. However, the fourth person wasn't the cloaked old man. His senses wouldn't be wrong. That cloaked old man was just the corpse of an expert. Because of the desire puppet strings, he had become a puppet. The person who was manipulating everything behind the scenes was hiding in this underground palace and controlling the cloaked old man to attack Yao Qingyun. The mastermind has yet to show himself. If I activate the Jade Slip now, I can certainly eliminate the cloaked old man and kill Fei He and the others, but I will miss the mastermind. If I kill Fei He and the others, it will be difficult to kill the mastermind. He saw that I have the Jade Slip of an immortal venerable and is afraid that I have other tricks up my sleeves. He won't dare to show himself and will escape. I will have one more hidden enemy for no reason. I don't know his true identity. If I fall into his trap in the future, it will be hard to guard against a hidden arrow. This person is very cautious and has yet to show himself. If I don't get rid of him in one go and leave him in the dark, he will certainly become a great threat. I must wait for him to show himself before I show my ability. Only then can I get rid of him once and for all and not give him a chance to escape. He has painstakingly planned all of this. What he wants is me and Yao Qingyun. When his plan is about to succeed, he will definitely show himself. At that time, it will be the time for me to counterattack. When I used the rain technique to spy on the first level of the underground palace, Fei He and the others seemed to be staying on the first level. They weren't in a hurry to chase after me and Yao Qingyun. What does it mean that they don't want to chase after us? Does it mean that they allow me and Yao Qingyun to enter the bottom of the underground palace to search for the 3 treasures of the 6 desires? Or could it be that the place where they started their plan is at the lowest level of the underground palace? If we reach the lowest level of the underground palace, will Fei He and the others carry out their plan and the mastermind behind the scenes will show himself? As Ning Fan's thoughts raced, he came up with a plan. At this moment, Yao Qingyun was becoming more and more unable to resist the poison of desire. She leaned against Ning Fan's chest with a helpless expression. She seemed to have completely lost her mind. In her daze, she forgot that she was already Elder Shikong of the Slaughter Palace. Her memory seemed to have returned to the past. Yao Qingyun completely fainted when she lost her consciousness. Ning Fan held her in his arms. Scenes of the past replayed in Yao Qingyun's mind. Ning Fan frowned. He knew that Yao Qingyun could not provide any help at the moment. Next, he could only rely on himself to head to the bottom of the underground palace to lure out the mastermind and kill him. Ning Fan's intention was to keep Yao Qingyun into the space of the world treasure. Then, he summoned the innate ghost face to conceal his chi, avoid all the dangerous formations and sneak into the bottom of the underground palace. He tried to temporarily keep Yao Qingyun into the small kiliacosm space. However, he realized that after the appearance of the cloaked elderly man, the small kiliacosm could no longer be accessed by people. They could only retrieve items. Only the profound Yin world that was at the level of medium 1000 could still be freely entered. However, Yao Qingyun was not Ning Fan. She could not enter the profound Yin world. With a resolute look in his eyes, Ning Fan rummaged through Yao Qingyun's storage pouch. He automatically ignored the various types of undergarments and undergarments that Yao Qingyun wore. Then, he took out a 9 Revolutions Heaven Fusion pill and fed it to Yao Qingyun. After consuming the pill, Yao Qingyun's chi was immediately concealed. Her body became one with heaven and earth as if she was invisible. Cultivators who were not Shikong Kong would not be able to detect her existence. The flame giant on the 4th floor of the Enlightenment realm looked at Yao Qingyun as if she was looking at thin air. He could not detect her existence at all. In this way, even if he brought Yao Qingyun who was unconscious with him, his whereabouts would not be exposed and he would not get into big trouble. As for whether Yao Qingyun would blame Ning Fan for stealing her storage pouch after she wakes up, it was not Ning Fan's concern. Ning Fan waved his hand and wiped his face. The silver ghost face immediately emerged bit by bit. The ferocious ghost face was rather scary. Who would have thought that a handsome face was hidden under such a ferocious ghost face? His black hair turned silver in an instant. Ning Fan's chi was instantly concealed. Even an immortal emperor might not be able to detect Ning Fan's qi. After activating his invisibility ability, Ning Fan's figure instantly disappeared along with Yao Qingyun. The flame giants in this place would never be able to detect Ning Fan's existence. Ning Fan carried Yao Qingyun, who was unconscious, into his arms and turned into a ray of light, directly crossing the sea of flames. They passed by the flame giants and flew towards the entrance of the 5th floor of the underground palace. None of the giants noticed that Ning Fan and Yao Qingyun had sneaked into the 5th floor of the underground palace. What a powerful ghost face spiritual equipment. Even I can't see where he is after he concealed himself. A peak thought fragmentation realm old monster who was hiding somewhere in a certain floor of the underground palace exclaimed in surprise. His fingers were intertwined with silver puppet threads. He was the puppet manipulator behind the scenes. His body was covered with bandages, and under the bandages, there were many eyeballs. His face, forehead, palms and arms were all filled with eyeballs. Each of the eyeballs was either opened or closed, revealing a strange light of desire. There were at least 1,000 eyeballs on his body. On his back, there was a huge fiery red fan treasure. On his waist, there was a long sword made of cold jade. This kid is heading towards the 6th floor. Once he enters the 6th floor, it will be the time for the plan to begin. Finally. I've waited for the perfect vessel that can contain all of my desires. As long as I get this kid's body, I will be able to reincarnate and restore the name of the 6th Desire Devil clan. Ning Fan sneaked past the Sea of Flames grand formation of the 4th floor. Ning Fan also sneaked past the yellow sand grand formation of the 5th floor. The 5th floor was filled with sand beasts of the true transcending realm, but none of them could see through Ning Fan's invisibility. When he arrived at the 5th floor, Ning Fan discovered that the first 5 floors of the underground palace were indeed arranged according to the order of metal, wood, water, fire and earth. All of this was in line with Yao Qingyun's expectations. However, there was one thing that Yao Qingyun did not expect: there was a 6th floor of the underground palace. Ning Fan pushed his movement light to its limit and crossed the desert of the 5th floor of the underground palace. In his arms, Yao Qingyun, who was unconscious, was sleeping. Her sleeping face was abnormally flushed and her brows were tightly knitted together. Her expression seemed to be in extreme pain. Memories of the past that she could not bear to recall were replaying in her mind again and again. That year, she was still the young mistress of the Yao family. She had outstanding talent, but her status in the Yao family was not high because her parents died early. That year, she suddenly awakened the green pity physique of the 7 physique. This matter quickly spread across the Yao sect star region. At that time, she was in a very difficult situation. She did not dare to leave the Yao family rashly, as she was afraid that she would be captured by the Eastern Heaven Devil Lords and be kept as a human cauldron. That year, a mysterious cloaked old man suddenly came to the Yao family and looked for the clan leader of the Yao family. No one knew what they talked about. After that, the clan leader of the Yao family led 10 life immortals of the Yao family into Yao Qingyun's boudoir and forcefully planted the poison of desire in her. That day, the poison of desire acted up and her 7 physique was completely awakened. That day, she fell to the ground with her body numb and was surrounded by a dozen Yao family seniors who were sneering at her. "Your parents are no longer here. If you obey us, you will have a smooth life in the Yao family from now on." Those people whom she once regarded as her seniors actually wanted to do such a beastly thing to her at that moment. At that moment, the faith in her heart quietly shattered and turned into despair, anger, and unwillingness. She originally had 6 servants and they were all rogue immortals at that time. Before she was about to fall into the evil hands, the 6 servants risked their lives to save her. The 4 servants ignited their primordial spirits and stopped the Yao family immortals with all their might. Lu Lan and Yan Hong were responsible for bringing her out of the Yao family immortals' territory. If it was not for the great elder of the slaughter hall who passed by on the way and saved her, Yao Qingyun would have already become a human cauldron of the Yao family immortals. No. Go away. Go away. Tao Air, Xing Air, Yun Air, Qing air. Run quickly, run quickly. Don't die, don't die. A clear teardrop streaked across Yao Qingyun's sleeping face. She bit her lips, causing her lips to bleed. Her face no longer had the usual arrogance, coldness, arrogance and domineeringness. There was only vulnerability and helplessness. She snuggled in Ning Fan's arms and grabbed his clothes tightly. She did not dare to let go. She did not dare. At this moment, Yao Qingyun's body and mind were defenseless. Ning Fan activated the yin-yang locket and saw through her past. His eyes turned gloomy for a moment. Unconsciously, he comforted her. Don't be afraid. You're already saved. Saved? I'm saved, but they... Yao Qingyun, who was in a coma, seemed to have heard Ning Fan's comforting words. The fear on her face gradually disappeared and was replaced by unconcealable grief. That sorrow was for the 4 dead maids. On that day, even though she escaped from the Yao family unscathed, she sacrificed 4 of her servants. On that day, she swore that she would not allow anyone to hurt Lu Lan and Yan Hong in her life. They were her last 2 maidservants, her last 2 relatives. Other than them, she had no other relatives in this world. The Yao family was not her relatives after all. Ning Fan could not help but tighten his grip on Yao Qingyun's hand. Only now did he know that she had almost become the cauldron of the elders of her family. From Yao Qingyun's memories, Ning Fan saw the cloaked old man. As his thoughts raced, he was even more certain that this plan had started countless years ago when Yao Qingyun was still young. Unknowingly, the entrance to the 6th floor was already in front of him. Ning Fan stopped his movement light and landed at the entrance. He was very sure that this 6th floor was the lowest level of the 6 Desires Palace. The power of desire in this floor was too strong. Even Ning Fan found it hard to bear the power of desire in this place. Yao Qingyun was suffering from the desire poison. To her, this floor was like purgatory. Ning Fan carried Yao Qingyun and walked down the stairs step by step, entering the 6th floor of the underground palace. As soon as he entered the 6th floor, Ning Fan felt the endless desire that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. In just a moment, his face turned red and he was panting heavily. Looking at Yao Qingyun, who was sleeping in his arms, he actually had the thought of eating her up. After activating the yin-yang locket, Ning Fan's eyes gradually became clear. As for Yao Qingyun, she was in a much worse state. As soon as she entered this floor, she was like a mortal lady who was suffering from lust poison. Her delicate body became even hotter and her breathing became more rapid. She even let out an unbearable moan in her sleep. Both of her hands were clawing at the clothes on her chest, trying to expose her skin in exchange for some coolness. At this moment, it was impossible for Ning Fan to channel his magic power to help Yao Qingyun suppress her desire. The power of desire in this place had exceeded Ning Fan's ability to suppress it. It was already a problem for him to protect himself. What entered his sight was a boundless sea of desire. At the center of the sea of desire was a gigantic silver altar. At the center of the altar, a gigantic black coffin was placed. The air was filled with a pleasant fragrance that had the ability to stimulate one's desire. Ning Fan scanned the place with his spirit sense. He could not find any of the 3 treasures of the 6 Desires Palace. There was nothing under the sea of desire. Other than a rotten corpse, there was nothing else in the coffin. Ning Fan's eyes darkened when he saw this. Initially, he wanted to find the whereabouts of the desire-relieving pearl on this floor and temporarily rely on its power to suppress Yao Qingyun's desire poison. But now, it seemed like it was impossible for him to do so. Old monster Qian Yan, who was hiding in the dark, suddenly pulled his puppet string. All of a sudden, the cloaked old man on the 1st floor of the underground palace changed his hand seal and shouted, "Sacrifice!" All of a sudden, a vast power of desire was generated on the 6th floor of the underground palace, completely sealing the entire floor. Ning Fan and Yao Qingyun could no longer leave the 6th floor and they could not sense what was happening in the outside world. The people outside could not sense what was happening on the 6th floor either. The word sacrifice spread across all 6 floors of the underground palace in an instant. It echoed in every floor for a long time. Fei He, Jun Linyuan and old ancestor Wei Chen's eyes turned serious. The three of them performed hand seals at the same time and cooperated with the cloaked old man. All of a sudden, the 6 life immortal realm corpse cultivators behind the three of them exploded and died. What was strange was that the rotten corpse in the coffin on the 6th floor of the underground palace suddenly sat up on its own. Then, the power of the sacrificial altar was activated and the corpse exploded in a strange manner. Its body turned into corpse mist. The amount of corpse qi in the mist was so terrifying that it was beyond Ning Fan's imagination. The corpse contained such terrifying corpse qi. The owner of this corpse must have been someone with a shocking cultivation base when he was alive. Could this corpse be the corpse of 6 Desires Immortal King? As soon as this thought rose in Ning Fan's mind, the surging corpse qi was guided by the sacrificial altar and flowed into Ning Fan's body. All of a sudden, Ning Fan felt excruciating pain all over his body. He felt like he was going to explode from the terrifying amount of corpse qi. Should I force this corpse qi out or, before Ning Fan could make a decision, another voice rang in his ears. Transform. The voice was still coming from the cloaked old man who was controlled by old monster Qian Yen. The voice was trying to activate the 184 puppet strings in Ning Fan's body. At this moment, old monster Qian Yen smiled in satisfaction. His plan of many years was finally going to succeed. Ning Fan had already turned into his puppet and devoured the corpse qi of 6 Desires Immortal King. After a while, he would forcefully plunder Yao Qingyun's 7 magic power. When that time comes, he would send Ning Fan to Fei He to devour. In the end, he would devour Fei He. No, he wasn't just going to devour Fei He. He was going to devour Jun Linyuan, Patriarch Wei Chen, and that cloaked puppet. Corpse Dao, Puppet Dao, and Desire Dao had all reached large success. He could regain the glory of 6 Desires Immortal King. 6 Desires 3 treasures, Sky-burning fan, the flames it fanned were corpse flames, only great experts of the corpse path could display its full power. The separate and gather sword was a supreme treasure of the Puppet Dao. Only great experts of the Puppet Dao could control it. The Desire Dispelling Pearl was a supreme treasure of the Desire Dao and could only be used by mighty figures of the Desire Dao. The reason why 6 Desires Celestial King was able to dominate those at the same cultivation level and even defeat those with higher cultivation levels was because he had reached the greater stage of the 3 Daos. 6 Desires Celestial King was already dead, and the 1,000-eyed old man was the closest person to 6 Desires when he was alive. He would definitely be able to revive 6 Desires Demon. Pluck, pluck like crazy. All of you are my vessels. The moment I walk out of the palace of 6 Desires, even the immortal king of the 5th tribulation won't be a match for me. The 1,000-eyed elder looked up at the sky and laughed. Suddenly, his gaze changed dramatically. There was a change in the plan. The puppet strings that he released could not control Ning Fan's movements at all. Where are my puppets? Where are the puppet strings? How is this possible? I am using one of the 3 abilities of the 6 Desires Immortal King, the 6 Desires Puppet Technique. This young man should have 184 puppet strings of the 6 Desires Immortal King in his body. Why did the puppet strings in his body disappear? The 1,000-eyed old man could not help but feel shocked. Just when he had carried out the first step of his plan, a huge change occurred. His puppet strings had already been refined by Ning Fan. He wanted to find out what exactly happened on the 6th floor. However, the grand formation of the 6th floor had already been activated. No one could enter the 6th floor in the next few hours. What exactly is going on? The 1,000-eyed old man was enraged. An unprecedented feeling of uneasiness rose in his heart. At this moment, on the 6th floor of the underground palace, Ning Fan was suppressing the corpse qi that was surging crazily in his body while resisting the various seductive actions of Yao Qingyun who was in his arms. Yao Qingyun damnably woke up. She damnably lost all her senses. She damnably undid all the buttons on her chest, exposing her light green dudu in front of Ning Fan's eyes. Unfortunately, the belt of the Duda was untied halfway, revealing a large area of her fair skin. It's so hot. I feel so hot. Yao Qingyun had long lost her consciousness. She just instinctively rubbed herself against Ning Fan's chest. Chapter 756. Yao Qingyun had completely lost her mind. Her body was so hot and empty. Ning Fan's body was so cold, as if it could fill up all the emptiness in her heart. Amidst her confusion, she saw Ning Fan's face clearly. There wasn't the usual disgust, only dependence in his eyes. It's him, she seemed to be relieved. She pulled open her clothes again and again, revealing large patches of white and tender skin. Under the influence of the desire poison, her fair skin gradually began to glow with a pink luster. His long and slender legs stretched and rubbed against each other. Unknowingly, her arms had already wrapped around Ning Fan's neck. Her soft lips were close to Ning Fan's ears, constantly blowing her fragrance into his ears. Ning Fan felt that he was about to lose control of his desire. He felt that he was about to turn into a beast and execute Yao Qingyun on the spot. However, Ning Fan knew that he could not pluck Yao Qingyun. He could not even dual cultivate with her. There were two reasons. First, at this moment, the corpse chi was wreaking havoc in his body. He had to concentrate on suppressing the corpse chi and couldn't be distracted by dual cultivating with the woman. Otherwise, he would be killed by the terrifying amount of corpse chi. Secondly, Yao Qingyun's cultivation was much higher than his. Plucking Yao Qingyun was equivalent to courting death. Even if he didn't pluck Yao Qingyun, he would still suffer quite a bit of backlash just from dual cultivation. Unless Yao Qingyun was willing. For example, Luo Yu was willing to dual cultivate with Ning Fan after she had regained her Shikong Void cultivation base. She took the initiative to guide Ning Fan and help him obtain benefits. At this moment, Yao Qingyun had voluntarily delivered herself to his doorstep, allowing him to pluck her, but did he dare to pluck her? Yao Qingyun had lost all her rationality and only wanted to have fun. How could she possibly assist him in dual cultivation? While he was trying his best to suppress the corpse chi in his body, he was also enduring Yao Qingyun's seduction. He tried to divide the huge amount of corpse chi into countless portions and seal them within his body, not refining them for the time being. It was a pity to force it out of his body. There was so much corpse chi. If he could refine it all, his corpse path cultivation would increase greatly. I feel terrible. I feel terrible here, whoosh. Yao Qingyun tore off her dudu, revealing her fair skin from her chest to her lower abdomen. In a daze, she grabbed Ning Fan's hand and pressed it on her chest. It's uncomfortable here. Help me, rub it, thud. A certain part of Ning Fan's body reacted. The soft and plump sensation on his palm made his eyes burn with desire. This was the lowest level of the 6 Desires Palace. Below the stairs was an endless sea of desires. In this place, Ning Fan had to suppress his desires with all his might in order to remain clear-headed. Yao Qingyun just had to seduce him like this. How could he tolerate this? The softness in his palm reminded him that the person in front of him was no longer the high and mighty elder Qingyun of the Slaughter Palace, but a woman seeking pleasure. Hurry up and rub. Yao Qingyun urged with misty eyes. Ning Fan clenched his teeth and slightly suppressed his desire. He wanted to withdraw his hand. His behavior instantly aroused the dissatisfaction of the entire sea of desire. Countless power of desire flowed out from the sea of desire and entered Ning Fan's body. The power of the sea of desire was extremely dissatisfied. They were dissatisfied with why their master was so afraid of the power of desire and why he had to avoid it. Yes, they had taken Ning Fan as their master. It was because he had absorbed all of the corpse chi from 6 Desires Immortal King's corpse. That corpse was indeed the corpse of 6 Desires Immortal King after his death. The Sea of Desire had no intelligence, it was only instinctively dissatisfied with its master's resistance to the power of desire. How could a person with strong desires be afraid of desires? How could he resist his desires? How could he avoid his desires? A person with strong desires must never be afraid in the face of desires. More and more power of desire seeped into Ning Fan's body, as if it wanted to correct his mistake of resisting his desires. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's eyes turned blood red. This sea of desire was used by 6 Desires Immortal King for his cultivation. The power of desire contained in it was not something that Ning Fan could withstand. In just a few seconds, Ning Fan lost his mind and rubbed the softness in his palm. Yao Qingyun closed her eyes and moaned with satisfaction, allowing Ning Fan to mold the softness into any shape. Unknowingly, the number of Ning Fan's hands that were rubbing the softness had increased from 1 to 2. Unknowingly, Ning Fan and Yao Qingyun's clothes had turned into rags and their storage pouches were left at the side. In a daze, Ning Fan realized that he was doing that thing on top of Yao Qingyun's body. The woman below him was moving gracefully and her beauty was indescribable. The strange thing was that he no longer felt the sense of danger when he was having dual cultivation with Yao Qingyun. Even though he knew that Yao Qingyun was unwilling, even though he knew that there was a huge gap between their cultivation bases and even though he knew that corpse qi was still wreaking havoc in his body, he did not panic. Gradually, Ning Fan felt that his calmness originated from the sea of desire that was continuously flowing into his body. The power of desire in his body was increasing. It could actually suppress corpse qi and forcefully perform dual cultivation with Yao Qingyun despite the difference in their cultivation bases. Each trace of this power of desire was a great ability that 6 Desires Immortal King had left behind. The 7 emotions and 6 desires, everyone has them. Because everyone has them, it is a supreme divine ability. The reason why Immortal Emperor Zhang Qing was so powerful was because the Tao that he mastered was the 7 emotions. The reason why 6 Desires Immortal King was so powerful was because his Tao was the Tao of the 6 desires. Unfortunately, he could not cultivate to the Immortal Emperor realm in the end. Otherwise, he would certainly be an extremely powerful Immortal Emperor. The corpse qi no longer wreaked havoc. It sensed that there was an extremely familiar qi of desire in Ning Fan's body. It regarded Ning Fan as its former master, 6 Desires Immortal King. As such, it would not cause any trouble and allowed Ning Fan to devour it. Due to the existence of the corpse qi, the power of desire also mistook Ning Fan as its former master. It obediently flowed into Ning Fan's body from the sea of desire and allowed Ning Fan to refine it without any resistance. It was as if it had become something that belonged to Ning Fan in the first place. It was like magic power or spirit sense. As if it understood that Ning Fan was unable to refine such a huge amount of corpse qi, the corpse qi divided itself into more than 100 traces and sealed themselves in Ning Fan's dantian. As if it understood that the yin-yang locket could absorb the power of desire without any limit, it allowed the locket to absorb the terrifying amount of power without any resistance. After the hidden danger of the corpse qi was resolved, the cultivation method of the yin-yang transformation was also advancing continuously. Ning Fan had already cultivated the yin-yang transformation to the 7th level of the 3rd level. After reaching the 3rd level, plucking void fragmentation realm female cultivators would have little effect. Only plucking fate fragmentation realm female cultivators could greatly increase the level of the cultivation method. Without the power of desire, Ning Fan did not know how many fate fragmentation realm female cultivators he would need to pluck to increase the level of the cultivation method. At this moment, the yin-yang locket was refining the power of desire. The cultivation method advanced from the 7th level to the 8th level, then to the 9th level. Finally, the cultivation method advanced to the 4th level. With the great benefit of dual cultivation with Yao Qingyun, it advanced all the way to the 2nd level of the 4th level. The huge power of desire was refined by the yin-yang locket and returned to Ning Fan's body. Although the amount was a lot less, it had truly become Ning Fan's own power. Ning Fan's eyes were unprecedentedly clear. After the advancement of the cultivation method, there was more power of desire in his body that he could freely control. The power of desire was slowly transforming his body, as if it was trying to create a new physique in his body. This action directly increased his resistance against the power of desire. The power of desire in this place was no longer enough to confuse him. Only then did he return to his senses. He realized that he was still doing the exercise mechanically. The woman below him was closing her eyes and moaning in a low voice. At the place where they were connected, the blood was very eye-catching, flowing out like a clear spring. The pieces of torn cloth on the ground silently told how intense the battle was. Well, Ning Fan knew that he had already made a mistake. This mistake had been committed for almost half an hour, but it was still not over. His hands were still grabbing the two soft mounds. After thinking for a while, he loosened his hands. Yao Qingyun seemed to be still immersed in the intoxicated state. How could she let Ning Fan move his hands away? She tyrannically grabbed Ning Fan's hands and pressed them back to her chest. "Help me, quickly, okay." Ning Fan rubbed them. The feeling was very good. He hoped that Yao Qingyun wouldn't regret it when she woke up. N. Yao Qingyun closed her eyes again. At this moment, she had regained some of her sanity. She knew what she was doing, but she couldn't resist the emptiness in her heart. She couldn't resist Ning Fan's demand. She originally thought that losing control in this situation would make her wish that she was dead. Unexpectedly, the feeling was not bad. She wasn't a pretentious person. She knew that Ning Fan was seduced by her and was invaded by the desire, which was why he did this. She gradually recalled the danger just now. Although she was confused and lost her sanity, she still had the memories. At that time, Ning Fan was suppressing the corpse qi in his body. She seduced Ning Fan and almost killed him. It seemed like it was also her fault that Ning Fan was invaded by the desire and almost died for the second time. Speaking of which, why didn't he get devoured by the corpse qi and desire? He shouldn't be able to withstand that level of corpse qi and desire. Speaking of which, how is it possible that 1/6 of the desire poison has been neutralized after having sex with him? The desire poison that I'm suffering from isn't something that can be neutralized just by having intercourse. Could it be that I can neutralize the poison without the desire dispelling pearl? When I was unconscious, he seemed to have said something, "Don't be afraid. You're already saved." In her impression, this was the sentence that made her feel unusually relieved. Pa 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 pa. The empty 6th floor of the underground palace reverberated with some kind of sound. Yao Qingyun closed her eyes and didn't open them for a long time. She gradually regained her sanity, but she was still moaning softly as if she was enjoying it very much. She realized that she actually didn't have the thought of killing Ning Fan with a single slap. It was really unbelievable. Ning Fan's eyes were extremely strange. He had already noticed that Yao Qingyun had regained her sanity, which made him feel even more awkward. After thinking for a while, he stopped his action. He felt that it would be too shameless to continue doing it. Don't stop. Yao Qingyun opened her eyes and pretended to be in a daze. Ning Fan's expression changed. Then, he smiled. It was his first time seeing a woman being raped. She didn't scream, "Don't," but "Don't stop." Ning Fan knew that Yao Qingyun was already awake and she was just pretending to be in a daze. However, he didn't expose her. After thinking for a while, he realized that Yao Qingyun probably felt awkward as well. Forget it. Since that's the case, I won't expose her. This kind of feeling isn't bad. Yao Qingyun's body is actually so soft. Ning Fan didn't know since when did he no longer hate Yao Qingyun so much. If he hated her, how could he be seduced so easily? If she was a woman that he hated, he probably wouldn't be seduced even if the desire here was twice as strong. Pa 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 pa. Another 2 hours passed. 1/3 of the poison in her body had been cleansed. Only now did Yao Qingyun clearly feel that the poison had been sucked away by Ning Fan. When she recalled her words of "Don't stop," she felt a little ashamed. I said don't stop because I want to get rid of the poison. That must be it. She hypnotized herself. Damn it. Yao Qingyun suddenly felt very displeased. She had shamefully released herself. However, Ning Fan's damnable act wasn't over yet. A strong sense of defeat rose in her heart. She was defeated by Ning Fan. Are you very satisfied? Ning Fan sensed Yao Qingyun's situation and revealed a strange smile. Is she really so satisfied? She doesn't hate me? Yao Qingyun suddenly hugged Ning Fan. Her nails dug into Ning Fan's back. Her chest rose and fell rapidly and her body seemed to be twitching. At this moment, she really felt as if she had ascended to the clouds. She panted lightly while hugging Ning Fan. Her eyes were tightly closed and her breathing gradually stabilized. After a long time, she opened her eyes and revealed a blank look. Strange. I seem to have been unconscious for a long time. I can't remember anything about what happened between us. Who are you trying to fool? Ning Fan smiled faintly and looked at Yao Qingyun. Then, he gently pulled out his clone. In an instant, he touched her sensitive spot. Yao Qingyun let out a soft moan with a soft and seductive tone. Now, you should remember it, right? Ning Fan. Yao Qingyun was ashamed and resentful. Was he reminding her? She had never been a pretentious person. Since it had happened and she felt satisfied with it, she could only accept it. She just didn't want to reveal the truth for the time being. Since Ning Fan insisted on revealing it, he shouldn't blame her for being ruthless. She waved her palm and rays of green light turned into ropes. She tied Ning Fan up and threw him on the ground. After dispersing the green ropes, Yao Qingyun sat down between Ning Fan's legs. Miss, what do you mean by this? Ning Fan asked with a smile. Cut the crap. Quickly cure me of the poison. Yao Qingyun sneered and shook him violently. That she originally had the 7-yin physique. She had been suppressing it for hundreds of thousands of years.